When Marlon Samuels' phone rang at midnight, he never expected to hear the cold, calculated voice of Michael Jordan on the other end. The rising NBA star had been secretly dating the basketball legend's daughter, Jasmine, for 6 months. They'd been careful, hiding in quiet restaurants, using fake names at hotels, keeping their love away from cameras and curious eyes. But that night, everything changed. "We need to talk. Tomorrow. My office. Alone." Michael's voice was ice cold, each word dropping the temperature in the room by 40 degrees. Then he hung up. No explanation. No negotiation. Just a command that made Marlon's hands shake. 24 hours later, Marlon sat across from the greatest basketball player who ever lived, in an office filled with championship trophies and million-dollar achievements. Michael Jordan didn't yell. He didn't threaten. He didn't tell Marlon to stay away from his daughter. Instead, he said something far worse, something so terrifying that Marlon walked out of that office a changed man. 3 weeks earlier, Michael had discovered the secret relationship during a game. He'd watched from his owner's box as Marlon scored 38 points against his Charlotte Hornets. But it wasn't the performance that caught his attention. It was the way Marlon kept glancing up at the stands, where Jasmine sat wearing Pistons blue, her eyes locked on the young point guard she loved. When their eyes met, Michael knew, and everything exploded. Jasmine came to her father's office that same night. She left crying, refusing to tell Marlon what her father had said. She just kept repeating, "He didn't threaten you. It's worse than that." So much worse. For weeks, Marlon lived in agony. His basketball performance collapsed. He got benched. His teammates asked what was wrong, but he couldn't explain. How do you tell people that Michael Jordan said something so terrifying you can't even repeat it? How do you fight an enemy you can't see? But Marlon wasn't raised to give up. His parents had immigrated from China with nothing but 2 suitcases and a dream. They'd taught him that love was worth fighting for, even when the odds seemed impossible. So Marlon made a decision that would change everything. He drove to Charlotte, walked into the Hornets practice facility, and demanded to see Michael Jordan face to face. What happened in that office would either destroy Marlon's career and his relationship forever, or it would give him something worth fighting for. Because what Michael Jordan told him wasn't a threat about basketball or fame or money. It was something deeper, something about family, legacy, pain, and the brutal cost of loving someone in the spotlight. The words Michael spoke would haunt Marlon for days. They would make him question everything. They would force him to choose between his dreams and his heart. And they would reveal a side of Michael Jordan the world had never seen. A father terrified of watching his daughter suffer the same pain that had destroyed his own happiness. But here's what nobody expected. Marlon didn't run. He didn't give up. Instead, he did something that shocked everyone, including Michael Jordan himself. He stood in that office and fought back with the one weapon more powerful than fear. The truth. What Michael Jordan said in that office. What terrified Marlon so deeply that he couldn't speak for days. What made Jasmine cry for 3 weeks straight. That secret almost destroyed them. But it also became the foundation for something beautiful. Something that would prove that love can survive impossible pressure. That the next generation can learn from the mistakes of the past. That even Michael Jordan's shadow can be carried if 2 people are brave enough to lift it together. Watch this whole video to discover exactly what Michael Jordan told Marlon that was worse than any threat. Stay until the end to see how a secret relationship between an NBA rising star and basketball royalty became a story about courage, family, and choosing love over fear. Because what happens next will surprise you, move you, and maybe even change how you think about legacy, pressure, and what it really means to fight for someone you love. Marlon Samuels' hands wouldn't stop shaking. He sat across from Jasmine Jordan in the corner booth of a dimmed coffee shop in downtown Chicago, the same place where they'd shared their first real conversation 6 months ago. Back then, his hands had been steady, confident. He'd just scored 28 points against the Bulls, and the world felt like it belonged to him. Now staring at the woman he loved, Marlon felt like a scared child. "Just tell me what he said," Jasmine whispered, reaching across the table. Her fingers brushed his and he pulled away. The hurt in her eyes almost broke him. "I can't," Marlon said, his voice barely audible. "Not yet. Marlon, please. 3 days ago, I got a phone call. He finally looked up at her, and Jasmine saw something in his eyes she'd never seen before. Fear. Pure, raw fear. It was your father. Jasmine's breath caught. My dad called you? His voice was... Marlon paused, searching for words. Ice cold, like the temperature in the room dropped 40 degrees. He said, we need to talk. Tomorrow. My office. Alone. Then he hung up. What did you say to him when you met? Marlon shook his head slowly. I can't tell you that either. Not now. Maybe not ever. A tear rolled down Jasmine's cheek. Did he threaten you? Did he tell you to stay away from me? It was so much worse than that, Jazz. Marlon's voice cracked on her nickname. What he said, it terrified me. And I've played in front of 20,000 screaming fans. I've had a 300-pound center tell me he'd break my legs. But nothing has ever scared me like what your father said in that office. Jasmine stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. 2 customers glanced over, and she immediately sat back down, remembering why they always chose dark corners and quiet places. Privacy was a luxury neither of them could afford. This isn't fair, she said, wiping her eyes. You can't just... I need to tell you how we got here, Marlon interrupted. From the beginning. You need to understand the whole story before everything changes. Jasmine nodded slowly, settling back into her seat. Okay, from the beginning. 6 months earlier, the Chicago Children's Hospital charity basketball event was Jasmine's idea of perfect. All the energy of the sport she loved, none of the suffocating pressure of being Michael Jordan's daughter. She'd registered under her mother's maiden name, Jasmine Curtis, and wore her credentials proudly, sports marketing consultant, Curtis and Associates. Nobody looked at her twice. Nobody asked for autographs or photos with MJ's girl. She was just another professional in a blazer, holding a clipboard, making sure the event ran smoothly. That's when she first saw him. Marlon Samuels stood near the three-point line, laughing with a group of kids from the hospital. He wore a simple Pistons t-shirt and basketball shorts, his black hair slightly messy, his smile genuine and warm. When a small girl in a wheelchair asked him to teach her to shoot, he didn't pose for a photo op. He spent 20 minutes with her, adjusting her form, celebrating every attempt like it was a game winner. Jasmine found herself staring. That's Marlon Samuels, her assistant Rachel whispered. Second-year point guard for Detroit. They say he might be an all-star next year. I don't follow the Pistons much, Jasmine lied. She'd watched every game Marlon played against Charlotte, her father's team. She'd watched the way he moved on the court. Fluid, intelligent, unselfish. Nothing like the flashy, ego-driven players who usually caught media attention. You should introduce yourself, Rachel suggested. Get him for some promotional photos? Jasmine hesitated. In her experience, professional athletes fell into 2 categories. Those who recognized her last name and immediately changed, becoming either overly friendly or weirdly competitive, and those who didn't know who she was yet, but would inevitably find out and change anyway. But something about the way Marlon high-fived that little girl, the pure joy in his eyes, made her walk over. Excuse me, Mr. Samuels? She kept her voice professional. I'm Jasmine Curtis with the marketing team. Would you mind taking a few photos with the donors? Marlon looked up and their eyes met for the first time. Jasmine felt something shift in her chest. A flutter, a spark, something she'd trained herself not to feel around basketball players. Of course, he said, standing. He was taller than she expected, maybe 6'2", with kind eyes and an easy smile. But only if you tell me your real name. Jasmine's heart stopped. Excuse me? Your badge says Curtis, but I've done my research on this event. He wasn't accusing, just observant. The organizer's daughter helped plan this. Jasmine Jordan, that's you, right? The familiar weight settled on her shoulders. Here it comes, she thought. The change, the shift. Now he'll either want an autograph or... I won't tell anyone, Marlon said quickly, reading her expression. I grew up with a different last name than my parents. I know what it's like when people treat you differently because of who your family is. Jasmine studied his face. You're not going to ask me about him? About your dad? Marlon shrugged. What's there to ask? He's the greatest of all time. Everyone knows that. But you're not him. You're the person who organized an event that brought joy to sick kids today. That's actually impressive. For the first time in years, Jasmine felt seen. Jasmine Curtis is fine, she said softly. For now, Marlon smiled. Then nice to meet you, Jasmine Curtis. For now. Present day. I fell in love with you that day, Jasmine said, bringing them back to the dark coffee shop. The moment you saw me instead of my last name. I know, Marlon replied. I fell in love with you too. Then why won't you tell me what my father said? Marlon reached across the table, finally taking her hand. His was still shaking. Because once I tell you, everything changes, and I need you to trust me for just a little longer. Can you do that? Jasmine squeezed his hand, tears streaming freely now. I trust you, Marlon, but I'm scared. Me too, he whispered. Me too. The first time Marlon kissed Jasmine, they were hiding in a supply closet. It sounds ridiculous now, Marlon thought, watching her sleep beside him in his Detroit apartment 3 months into their secret relationship. A supply closet. Like teenagers sneaking around at a school dance. But that's exactly what they'd been doing. Sneaking. After the charity event, they'd exchanged numbers. Innocent at first, professional. Then the text became longer, deeper, stretching into the early morning hours. Marlon would finish practice and find 17 messages from her about everything from marketing strategies to her favorite movies to the pressure of living up to impossible expectations. He'd respond with stories about his parents. His mother, Lynn, who'd left everything behind in Shanghai to give him opportunities, and his father, Wei, who worked 3 jobs so Marlon could attend basketball camps. They'd arrived in America with 2 suitcases and a dream that their son might have chances they never did. You get it, Jasmine had texted one night at 2 a.m. Everyone thinks having a famous parent means everything is easy. They don't understand the weight. The weight of carrying someone else's dream, Marlon had replied, while trying to build your own. Exactly. That one word had sealed it. 3 weeks later, when the Pistons played a preseason game in Chicago, Marlon had invited her to watch from a private suite. She'd shown up wearing sunglasses indoors and a baseball cap pulled low. Subtle, he'd teased. Necessary, she'd corrected. They'd talked through the entire first half, barely watching the game. During halftime, Marlon had needed to grab something from the equipment room. Jasmine followed, and in that cramped space surrounded by basketballs and practice jerseys, with fluorescent lights humming overhead, Marlon had cupped her face in his hands. I need to kiss you, he'd said, but once I do, there's no going back for me. You need to know that. Jasmine had pulled him closer. Then don't go back. Now, 3 months later, they'd perfected the art of invisibility. Late-night phone calls when his teammates were asleep. Dinners at family-owned restaurants in quiet suburbs where nobody looked for celebrities. Hotel rooms registered under fake names when the Pistons played away games near Chicago. It was exhausting. It was thrilling. It was slowly breaking both their hearts. Marlon's phone buzzed on the nightstand. 3:47 a.m., a text from his mother. Are you happy, baby? You sound different lately. He smiled. His mother always knew. Even from California, even through phone calls, she could read him like one of her beloved books. I'm happy, Mom, he typed back. I promise. Then why are you awake at 3 a.m.? Marlon glanced at Jasmine. Because I'm in love with someone I can't tell the world about, he thought. Because every time we're together in public, she has to pretend we're strangers. Because yesterday a photographer spotted us leaving a restaurant and she literally hid behind a menu until I could distract him. Just can't sleep. Big game tomorrow. Liar, his mother texted. But I'll wait until you're ready to tell me the truth. I love you. Love you too, Mom. Marlon set down his phone and watched Jasmine's chest rise and fall with each breath. She looked peaceful in sleep, the worry lines around her eyes temporarily smoothed away. Those lines had deepened over the past month. The hiding was getting to her too. Last week, they'd almost been caught at a coffee shop when one of her father's former teammates walked in. Jasmine had grabbed Marlon's hand under the table, her grip painfully tight, and whispered, Don't move. Don't look at him. Please. They'd sat frozen for 20 minutes until the man left. Afterward, Jasmine had cried in the car. "I hate this," she'd sobbed. "I hate that loving you feels like I'm doing something wrong." "Then let's stop hiding," Marlon had said. "I'll call your father right now. I'll tell him." "No." The fear in her voice had shocked him. "You don't understand. My dad, he's protective in ways that destroy things. I've seen it happen. Anyone who gets too close, anyone who might want something from me or from him, he removes them, systematically, completely. I don't want anything from him, Jazz. That's what they all say. That's what they all say." Marlon had held her until the tears stopped, understanding for the first time the true cost of her last name. It wasn't just fame, it was a fortress, and everyone who approached was assumed to be an invader. Jasmine woke around dawn, stretching beside him. "You're staring again," she murmured, eyes still closed. "Can't help it. You're the best thing I've ever seen." She smiled, finally opening her eyes. "Smooth talker, that's why you get all the endorsement deals." "I get endorsement deals because I can actually play basketball." "Debatable." She poked his ribs and he caught her hand, pulling her close. For a moment, everything was perfect. Just the two of them, tangled in sheets, the world locked outside. Then reality crashed in with the buzzing of both their phones. Simultaneously, Marlon grabbed his first, a text from his agent. "ESPN is running a story about you and an unidentified woman at Giordano's Pizza last week. They have photos. Call me ASAP." Jasmine's face had gone pale, staring at her own phone. "What is it?" Marlon asked. She turned the screen toward him, a text from her younger brother. "Dad's asking questions about who you've been seeing. Said someone sent him photos. Jazz, what's going on?" Marlon felt his stomach drop. "We need to be more careful." "No," Jasmine said quietly, sitting up and pulling the sheet around her. "We need to stop." "What?" "Jazz, no. He's going to find out, Marlon. And when he does..." She trailed off, her eyes filling with tears. "You don't know what he's capable of, the people he knows, the influence he has. He could destroy your career before you even make All-Star." "I don't care about..." "But I do!" She was crying now, fully. "I care about your dreams, your parents' sacrifice, everything you've worked for. And I won't be the reason you lose it all." Marlon pulled her into his arms, feeling her shake against his chest. "Listen to me. Really listen. My parents didn't sacrifice everything so I could play basketball. They sacrificed everything so I could choose my own life. And I choose you. Every time, no matter what. You say that now. I'll say it always." He tilted her chin up, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Jasmine Curtis Jordan, I love you. Not basketball, not fame, not your father's approval. You, the woman who spends her Saturdays volunteering at youth basketball camps, who cries during dog food commercials, who's building her own empire because she refuses to live in anyone's shadow. That's who I choose." Jasmine kissed him desperately, like she was trying to memorize the taste of him. When they finally broke apart, she whispered, "I love you too. God help me, I love you so much. Then we face this together. You don't understand what you're agreeing to. Then help me understand." Jasmine took a shaky breath. "There's a game. Next week. Detroit versus Charlotte. It's at the Spectrum Center. My father will be there. He always watches home games from his owner's box." Marlon nodded. "I know, I've been preparing for it. I usually sit in the family section, but I've been avoiding games when you play against us because..." She gestured between them. "This. So don't come. We'll keep hiding a little longer." "No." Jasmine's voice was stronger now. "I'm tired of hiding. I'm going to that game, and I'm going to wear your colors." Marlon's heart stopped. "Jazz, that's insane, reckless, a declaration of war against my father?" She laughed, but it sounded broken. "Yes, all of those things. But I'm done living in fear of disappointing him. I spent my whole childhood trying to be perfect, trying to make him proud while also trying not to be compared to him. I'm 22 years old and I've never made a decision just for me. Until you. What if he... Then he does. But at least I'll know I was brave enough to try." She grabbed her phone. "I'm going to that game, Marlon. And afterward, whatever happens, happens." Marlon pulled her close again, his mind racing. A week. They had 1 week before everything exploded into public view. 1 week before Michael Jordan discovered his daughter was in love with an NBA player. Not just any player, a rival, someone on an opposing team. "We should do something," he said suddenly, "before next week. Something just for us." "Like what?" "Come with me tomorrow. I volunteer at a community center on Tuesdays, teaching basketball to kids who can't afford camps or equipment. I want you to see that part of my life." Jasmine smiled. "I'd love that." The Westside Community Center smelled like old wood and dreams. Marlon led Jasmine through the gymnasium doors, where 15 kids ranging from ages 8 to 16 were already shooting around, their laughter echoing off the walls. "Coach Marlon," a small boy, maybe 9 years old, ran up and hugged his legs. "You came. And you brought a pretty lady." Jasmine laughed. "Hi, I'm Jasmine." "Are you Coach Marlon's girlfriend?" the boy asked with the brutal honesty of children. Marlon and Jasmine exchanged glances. Before either could answer, Marlon knelt down to the boy's level. "She's very special to me, Tommy, just like all of you are." "Does she play basketball?" "Better than your coach," Jasmine said, grabbing a ball and sinking a three-pointer effortlessly. The kids erupted in cheers. For the next 2 hours, Marlon watched Jasmine come alive. She worked with the younger kids on footwork, told stories about growing up around basketball, and never once mentioned her father's name. When a teenage girl asked her, "What's it like being so confident?" Jasmine had paused thoughtfully. "I'm not always confident," she admitted. "Sometimes I'm terrified. But I learned that courage isn't about not being scared. It's about doing the right thing even when you're scared, and surrounding yourself with people who remind you who you really are when the world tries to tell you different." She glanced at Marlon when she said it, and he'd felt his heart expand in his chest. After practice, as they walked to his car, Marlon said, "You were incredible in there." "So were you. You do this every week?" "Every Tuesday. These kids, they remind me why I fell in love with basketball in the first place. Not the money or the fame, just the pure joy of the game." Jasmine stopped walking. "That's why I'm going to that game next week, because you remind me why I fell in love with life. Not the pressure or the expectations. Just the pure joy of choosing someone who sees me." Marlon kissed her right there in the parking lot, not caring if anyone saw. "1 week," he said, "then everything changes." 1 week, she agreed. Neither of them knew how right they were. The Spectrum Center was packed. 19,000 fans filled every seat, their energy crackling through the air like electricity before a storm. Marlon sat in the visitors' locker room, lacing his sneakers with methodical precision, trying to calm the war raging inside his chest. This was just another game, another arena, another opponent. Except it wasn't. Somewhere in this building, in the owner's luxury box high above the court, sat Michael Jordan. And somewhere in the family section, wearing Pistons blue beneath her jacket, sat the man's daughter. His daughter, the woman Marlon loved. "You good, man?" his teammate, veteran forward Deshaun Miller, asked. "You look like you're about to throw up." "I'm fine," Marlon lied, pulling his laces tight. "This is just Charlotte. We've beaten them twice already this season." Just Charlotte, as if Michael Jordan's presence didn't make everything feel like the finals. Marlon had barely slept the night before. He'd called Jasmine at midnight, needing to hear her voice. "Are you sure about this?" he'd asked. "We can wait. Find another way." "I'm wearing blue tomorrow," she'd said firmly, "and I'm sitting where he can see me. No more hiding, Marlon. We agreed." "I know, but do you trust me?" "With my life." "Then trust me when I say this is the only way. He needs to see that I'm choosing this. Choosing you. Choosing us." Now walking through the tunnel toward the court, Marlon felt the weight of that choice pressing down on his shoulders. The crowd roared as both teams emerged. Marlon scanned the stands automatically, a habit from years of finding his parents in the crowd. There, family section, 12 rows up. Jasmine sat perfectly still, her jacket zipped high, but Marlon could see the edge of blue beneath it. Their eyes met across the distance. She gave him the smallest nod. Then Marlon's gaze drifted up, toward the luxury boxes. Michael Jordan stood at the glass, arms crossed, face unreadable. Even from this distance, Marlon could feel the intensity of his stare. It was the same look he'd seen in countless highlight reels, the look that said someone was about to be destroyed. Marlon forced himself to look away, focusing on the court. Just play basketball, he told himself. That's all you can control. The game started badly. Marlon missed his first 3 shots, turned the ball over twice, and got beat on defense by Charlotte's backup point guard. His coach called a timeout, pulling him aside. "Samuels, what's going on? Your head's not in this." "I'm good, coach. Just needed to settle in." "Then settle. Fast. We need you." Marlon took a deep breath, glancing once more at the stands. Jasmine had unzipped her jacket. The Pistons' blue was fully visible now. A statement, a declaration. Something clicked inside him. The next possession, Marlon drove hard to the basket, drawing 2 defenders before dishing to Miller for an easy layup. The possession after that, he pulled up for a 3-pointer that splashed through the net, then another, then another. By halftime, Marlon had 21 points and 7 assists. The Pistons led by 15. In the locker room, his teammates were celebrating, but Marlon couldn't shake the feeling that something was building, some invisible pressure mounting with every basket he made. The second half was even better. Marlon was in that rare space athletes call the zone, where everything slows down, every movement feels effortless, every shot seems destined to fall. He hit a step-back 3 over Charlotte's best defender. He threw a no-look pass that made the crowd gasp. He drove past 2 players and finished with a reverse layup that had his own bench jumping to their feet. With 30 seconds left and the Pistons up by 2, Charlotte called their final timeout. Marlon was exhausted, sweat pouring down his face, but he'd never felt more alive. "Samuels, they're going to trap you," his coach said. "Find Miller or Jackson for the final shot." Marlon nodded, but when play resumed, Charlotte did something unexpected. They didn't trap. They went under the screen, daring him to shoot. 20 feet from the basket, 15 seconds on the clock, the game on the line. Marlon didn't hesitate. He pulled up, released, and watched the ball arc through the air in what felt like slow motion. Swish. The Pistons' bench erupted. Marlon's teammates mobbed him. The final buzzer sounded seconds later. Final score, Pistons 118, Hornets 115. Marlon had finished with 38 points, 12 assists, and what felt like a target on his back. The post-game interview room was packed with reporters. Marlon sat at the table, still catching his breath, when the questions started flying. "Marlon, incredible performance tonight. 38 points against the team owned by Michael Jordan himself. What was going through your mind out there?" Marlon chose his words carefully. "Just trying to help my team win. Charlotte's a great opponent, and we had to fight for every possession." "But this seemed personal," another reporter pressed, "especially that final 3-pointer. Were you sending a message?" "No message, just basketball." An older reporter in the back stood up. "Marlon, you've talked before about growing up idolizing Michael Jordan. How does it feel to dominate a game in his building against his team?" Marlon felt the trap in the question, but answered honestly. "I grew up watching MJ. Every kid who loves basketball did. He's the greatest of all time. That's not even a debate. And I always dreamed of competing at his level someday. Tonight felt like a small step toward that dream." The room exploded with follow-up questions, but Marlon didn't realize what he'd just done. He'd given them the soundbite they'd been hunting for. By the time he left the interview room 20 minutes later, his phone was already exploding with notifications. His agent had called 4 times. His mother had texted, "Baby, turn on ESPN, now." Marlon found a quiet corner and pulled up ESPN on his phone. The headline made his stomach drop. "Samuels claims he's the next Jordan. Young Pistons star says tonight was step toward matching legends level." "What? No, that's not." Marlon scrolled frantically through the article. They'd taken his words completely out of context, twisting competing at his level into some kind of arrogant comparison. Twitter was worse. The hashtag #JourChat_NotMyJordan was already trending. Comments ranged from amused to outraged. "This kid really thinks he's MJ after one good game. Sit down. Respect the legends. Samuels hasn't earned the right to even mention Jordan's name. MJ would have dropped 60 on this kid just to put him in his place. Marlon's phone rang, his agent screaming before Marlon could even say hello. What were you thinking? Michael Jordan owns that team. You just disrespected him in his own building. I didn't disrespect anyone. They twisted what I said. Doesn't matter what you meant, matters what they heard. This is a PR nightmare, Marlon. We need damage control immediately. Marlon hung up, his hands shaking. This wasn't supposed to happen. He was just supposed to play well. Show Jasmine's father he was worthy, prove himself as a professional. Now he'd accidentally started a media war. Another call came through. Jasmine. Marlon, oh my God, are you okay? Did you see? Everyone saw. It's everywhere. Marlon, my father. She paused and he heard the fear in her voice. During the game, in the third quarter, you kept looking up at the stands. I was looking at you. I know, but my dad noticed. He followed your eyes and saw me, saw the blue scarf I was wearing. Marlon, our eyes met, his and yours, just for a second after you made that three-pointer in the third quarter. Marlon's blood ran cold. What happened? His jaw went tight, that thing he does when he's angry but trying to control it. Then he looked at me, really looked at me, and I knew. I knew he knew. Jazz, I got a text from him 5 minutes ago. Her voice cracked. He wants to see me, tonight, at his office. I'm coming with you. No, Marlon, you can't. This will make everything worse. I don't care. Please. She was crying now. Let me talk to him first. Let me explain. Maybe if I can make him understand. Marlon wanted to argue, wanted to drive to Charlotte immediately and face Michael Jordan himself. But he heard the desperation in Jasmine's voice and forced himself to stay calm. Call me after, he said. No matter how late, promise me. I promise. I love you, Jazz. I love you too. Whatever happens, I love you too. 3 hours later, Marlon sat in his hotel room, staring at his phone. Jasmine still hadn't called. He'd tried her number 17 times, each time straight to voicemail. He'd texted, please tell me you're okay. No response. At 1:47 a.m., his phone finally rang. Marlon answered before the first ring finished. Jazz, are you? The sound of her sobbing stopped his words. She was crying so hard she couldn't speak, just broken gasps and whimpers that made Marlon's heart shatter. Baby, what happened? What did he say? I can't. She could barely get the words out. Marlon, I can't do this. Can't do what? Talk to me. We have to stop seeing each other. The words hit him like a physical blow. No, whatever he said, we can work through. You don't understand. Her voice rose, desperate and scared. He didn't threaten you. He didn't tell me to leave you. It's so much worse than that, Marlon. So much worse. Then tell me. Let me help you. I can't tell you, not yet. Maybe not ever. But I can't be the reason you lose everything. You're not going to cost me anything. Goodbye, Marlon. Her voice broke completely. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. The line went dead. Marlon immediately called back. Voicemail. He called 20 more times. Each time, voicemail. He texted, don't do this, please. Whatever he said, we face it together. You promised we'd face it together. 3 dots appeared, showing she was typing, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, one message came through. He didn't threaten you. It's worse than that. But I can't tell you yet. I love you. I'm sorry. Marlon stared at his phone screen, reading those words over and over, trying to understand. What could be worse than a threat? What could Michael Jordan have possibly said to make Jasmine end their relationship, but not be able to tell him why? He didn't sleep that night. He sat by the window, watching the Charlotte skyline, replaying every moment of the game, the way Michael Jordan had stared at him from that owner's box, the way their eyes had met after that three-pointer, the coldness in that gaze. What did you say to her? Marlon thought desperately. What did you tell her that was worse than a threat? His phone buzzed with a notification. ESPN, still running stories about his rivalry with Jordan. Another headline, MJ's Hornets embarrassed by upstart Samuels? Is a new rivalry born? Marlon threw his phone across the room, not caring when it hit the wall. He'd won the game but lost everything that mattered. And somewhere in Charlotte, Michael Jordan sat in his office, knowing exactly what he'd done. But Marlon didn't know. Not yet. That secret, what Michael had told Jasmine that night, would remain buried for now. A truth too terrible to speak. A fear too deep to name. All Marlon knew was that the woman he loved was crying somewhere in the night. And the greatest basketball player who ever lived had somehow broken them apart without laying a finger on either one. The real game, Marlon realized, had just begun, and he was already losing. Marlon's next 3 games were disasters. Against Milwaukee, 15 points on 4 for 19 shooting, 6 turnovers, benched in the 4th quarter. Against Boston, 12 points, 8 turnovers, missed 2 free throws that would have tied the game. Against Philadelphia, 10 points, lost the ball on the final possession, Pistons lost by 3. His coach, Vincent Torres, finally called him into the office after the Philadelphia game. "Sit down, Samuels." Marlon slumped into the chair, exhausted. He hadn't slept more than 2 hours a night since Charlotte. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Jasmine's face, heard her crying, felt the emptiness where she used to be. "What's going on with you?" Coach Torres asked, his voice stern but not unkind. 3 weeks ago, you dropped 38 on Charlotte. You were playing the best basketball of your career. Now you look like you've never touched a basketball before. "I'm just in a slump, coach. It happens." "Bullshit." Torres leaned forward. "I've been coaching for 23 years. I know what a slump looks like. This isn't a slump. This is a man whose heart isn't in it anymore. So I'm asking you again, what's going on?" Marlon wanted to tell him. Wanted to explain that he'd fallen in love with a woman whose last name was a fortress he couldn't breach. That he'd lost her to secrets he didn't understand. That basketball, the thing that had been his entire life, suddenly felt meaningless without her. But instead he said, "I'll figure it out, coach, I promise." Torres studied him for a long moment. "You've got 1 week to figure it out. Then I'm starting Jenkins at point guard. I can't have you hurting this team." "Yes, coach." Marlon left the office feeling hollow. He'd worked his entire life to be an NBA starter, to prove his parents' sacrifices weren't in vain. And now he was about to lose it all, because he couldn't stop thinking about a woman he'd known for 6 months. His phone buzzed. For a desperate second, his heart leaped. Maybe it was Jasmine finally calling to explain, but it was his mother. "Marlon Samuels, if you don't call me in the next 5 minutes, I'm flying to Detroit." He smiled despite everything. His mother's threats were always specific and always serious. He called. "Hi, Mom." "Don't, hi, Mom, me. I've watched your last 3 games. You look like someone died. What happened?" "I'm just struggling." "Marlon." Her voice went soft, the way it did when he was a child and she knew he was lying. "I'm your mother. I carried you for 9 months. I know when something is breaking your heart. Talk to me." And suddenly, sitting in his car in the empty parking garage, Marlon broke. "I met someone," he said, his voice cracking. "A woman. And I fell in love with her, Mom. Really in love. The kind you and Dad have. The kind that makes everything else feel small. That's wonderful, baby." But her father found out, and he said something to her. Something that terrified her so much she ended things. And she won't tell me what he said. She just keeps saying it's worse than a threat. What does that even mean? How can something be worse than a threat? Silence on the other end of the line. Then his mother asked quietly, "Who is she, Marlon? Who is this girl?" "I can't tell you. She wanted to keep it private because of her family." "Is her father dangerous? Is she safe?" "No, it's not like that. He wouldn't hurt her physically. But he has power, Mom. A lot of power. And I think he used it to scare her away from me." Another pause. Then his mother said something that surprised him. "Do you remember the story of how your father and I met?" Marlon frowned at the sudden change in topic. "You met at university, in Shanghai." "That's true. But what I never told you is that my parents hated your father. He came from nothing. A factory worker's son with big dreams but no connections. My father was a professor. Important. Respected. He told me that if I married your father, I would ruin my life, that Wei would never amount to anything, that I was throwing away my future. I didn't know that. I was terrified, Marlon. I believed my father. He'd never been wrong before about anything, so I told your father we couldn't see each other anymore. I broke his heart without explaining why. Marlon sat up straighter. What changed your mind? Your grandmother, your father's mother, came to see me. She was so poor she'd walk 3 miles because she couldn't afford the bus. She sat in my family's expensive living room in her worn clothes, and you know what she said? What? She said, "My son loves you, and I know you love him. Your father thinks love isn't enough. But let me tell you what is enough. Choosing to face the hard things together instead of running from them alone. Your father is afraid you'll be hurt. My son is afraid he'll never be enough. You're afraid of disappointing everyone. But the only real disappointment is letting fear make your choices for you." Marlon felt tears burning his eyes. "The next day," his mother continued, "I went to your father and told him everything. About my parents' disapproval, about my fears, about why I'd pushed him away. And he held me and said, 'Then let's prove them wrong together.' 6 months later, we were married. 2 years after that, we moved to America with nothing but each other. And yes, it was hard. Yes, there were times when I wondered if my father was right. But Marlon, I have never regretted choosing love over fear." "Mom, go to her," Lynn Samuel said firmly. "Don't let her face this alone. Don't let her father's fear become her fear. Whatever he said to her, she needs to know you're strong enough to hear it, that you're not going to run. What if she won't see me? Then you try again and again until she understands that you're not giving up on her. That's what love is, baby, not grand gestures. Just showing up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." After they hung up, Marlon sat in his car for another 20 minutes, his mother's words echoing in his mind. Then he made a decision. He drove straight to the airport and bought a ticket to Chicago. Jasmine's apartment building had security, but Marlon had been there enough times that the night guard recognized him. "Mr. Samuels, it's 11 p.m. Does Ms. Curtis know you're coming?" "It's a surprise," Marlon lied smoothly. "Can you let me up?" The guard hesitated, then shrugged. "Elevator to the 14th floor, unit 1407. Marlon's heart pounded as he rode the elevator up. What if she refused to see him? What if she called security? What if... The elevator doors opened. He walked to 1407 and knocked. Silence. He knocked again. "Jazz, I know you're in there. Your car's in the garage." More silence. "I'm not leaving," he said loudly. "I'll sit out here all night if I have to. I'll sing. Badly. Your neighbors will hate you." A long pause, then the door cracked open. Jasmine stood there in sweatpants and an old t-shirt, her eyes red and swollen from crying. She'd lost weight. She looked exhausted. She looked beautiful. "Marlon, you can't be here." "I love you," he interrupted, "and I'm not running away. Whatever your father said, whatever you're afraid of, we face it together. That's what you told me, remember? No more hiding." "You don't understand." "Then help me understand." His voice broke. "Because I'm dying here, Jazz. I can't eat. I can't sleep. I can't play basketball, the thing I've done my entire life. Because all I can think about is you, about how you're facing something terrible alone, about how I promised to be there for you, and you won't let me." Tears streamed down Jasmine's face. "I'm trying to protect you. I don't need protection. I need you." Marlon stepped closer. "Tell me what he said, please. Let me carry it with you." Jasmine shook her head, sobbing. "If I tell you, you'll see me differently. You'll see us differently. And I can't bear to watch that happen. That's not possible. Nothing could change how I feel about you. You promise?" "I promise." Jasmine opened the door wider, letting him in. Her apartment was a mess. Takeout containers, used tissues, clothes everywhere. She'd been living in this pain for 3 weeks. They sat on the couch, and Jasmine curled into herself, making herself small. "My father didn't threaten you," she began quietly. "He didn't tell me to leave you. He didn't say anything cruel about you at all, actually." Marlon waited, sensing she needed time to find the words. He told me She took a shaky breath. He told me about his marriages, about my mother, about how the pressure of being Michael Jordan's wife destroyed her, destroyed them. He said that every relationship in his life has been touched by his legacy. That people either want something from him or they're crushed by the weight of being associated with him. Jazz, let me finish, please. She wiped her eyes. He said that if I marry you, or any NBA player, I'll spend the rest of my life being compared to his ex-wives. That every argument we have, people will say, just like Mike's marriage, that when you succeed, they'll say I'm riding your coattails. When you fail, they'll blame me for distracting you. That our children, your children, and mine won't just carry his name, they'll carry yours too. Another generation crushed by expectations they never asked for. Marlon felt his chest tightening, beginning to understand. He told me, Jasmine continued, her voice barely a whisper now, that he couldn't bear to watch me live the life that destroyed his happiness. Not because you're not good enough, but because this life, our life, the basketball life, it eats love alive. It consumes everything good and beautiful and turns it into tabloid headlines and public scrutiny and impossible pressure. She turned to look at Marlon directly for the first time. He said that for once, maybe I should choose peace over passion, choose a man who could give me anonymity, a quiet life, because he loves me too much to watch me suffer like he did, like my mother did, like everyone who's ever loved someone in the spotlight has suffered. The room fell silent. Marlon finally understood. This wasn't a threat. It was a father's desperate attempt to spare his daughter the pain he'd endured. It was love wrapped in fear, wrapped in the bitter wisdom of experience. And it was working. Jasmine believed him. So you see, Jasmine said, crying harder now, it's not that he doesn't approve of you, it's that he doesn't approve of this life for me. And the worst part is, I think he might be right. I've watched what fame did to my family. I know what it costs, and I don't know if I'm strong enough to pay it. Marlon reached for her hand, but she pulled away. Don't, she whispered. If you touch me, I'll break, and I need to be strong enough to let you go. What if I don't want you to be strong, Marlon said. What if I want you to break? What if I want us to break together and then figure out how to put ourselves back together? Marlon, your father is right, Marlon said, and Jasmine's eyes widened in surprise. This life is brutal. The scrutiny, the pressure, the constant judgment, it's all real. And yes, people will compare you to his ex-wives. They'll say terrible things about us. About our children if we have them. They'll try to tear us apart just to have a story to tell. Exactly, so you understand why. But he's also wrong, Marlon continued, because he's assuming we're the same as him and your mother, that we'll make the same mistakes, that we'll crumble under the same pressures. And maybe we will. Maybe this is impossible. Maybe 5 years from now, we'll be miserable and divorced and wishing we'd listened to him. He moved closer, and this time when he took her hand, she didn't pull away. Or maybe, he said softly, we're stronger than he thinks. Maybe we're different. Maybe the fact that we know what's coming, that we're walking into this with our eyes open, maybe that gives us a chance he never had. You're just saying that because... I'm saying it because my parents faced impossible odds. They left everything behind. They were told their love wasn't enough, and they proved everyone wrong. Not because they were special, not because they were stronger than everyone else, but because they chose each other every single day, even on the hard days, especially on the hard days. Jasmine was crying silently now, her hand gripping his tightly. I can't promise you it won't be hard, Marlon said. I can't promise people won't say awful things or that we won't struggle. But I can promise that I'll choose you. Every day, in every way. Even when your father's right and this life tries to eat us alive, I'll choose you. What if I'm not strong enough? Then I'll be strong enough for both of us until you are. And then you'll be strong for me when I'm not. That's how this works, Jazz. That's what love is. For a long moment, Jasmine just stared at him, tears streaming down her face. Then she whispered, I'm so scared, Marlon. Me too, he admitted. I'm terrified. Your father is Michael fucking Jordan. He could destroy my career with a phone call. He could make my life miserable in 1,000 different ways. And you're right. This life is going to be brutal for both of us. Then why? Because love without you isn't worth protecting. Marlon cupped her face in his hands. I don't want a safe life if you're not in it. I don't want peace if it means losing you. I want the hard, messy, impossible thing. I want us, even if it destroys me. Jasmine kissed him then, desperately, like she was drowning and he was air. They held each other on that couch, crying and kissing and holding on like they might never let go. I love you, she whispered against his lips. God help us both, I love you so much. Then that's enough, Marlon said. Love is enough. Everything else, we'll figure out. My father will never accept this. Then we'll change his mind. How? Marlon pulled back, looking into her eyes. I'm going to talk to him, face to face, man to man. Marlon, no. Yes, because I'm not asking his permission, Jazz. I'm asking for his blessing. There's a difference. And if he says no, if he tries to tear us apart, then we'll face that together. But I'm not hiding anymore. I'm not pretending you don't mean everything to me. Jasmine searched his face, looking for doubt, for fear, for any sign that he didn't understand what he was walking into. She found none. Okay, she said finally. Okay, but when you talk to him, Marlon, please understand that everything he said came from love, from not wanting to see me hurt. I know, and that's exactly why I need to talk to him. Father to, well, to the man who loves his daughter. They spent the rest of the night on that couch, talking and planning and holding each other. By the time the sun rose, they'd made a decision. Marlon would face Michael Jordan. Whatever came next, they'd face it together. But neither of them knew what was really waiting. Neither of them understood that the conversation Marlon was walking into would change everything. That what Michael Jordan would say, really say, would either destroy them completely or give them something worth fighting for. The real test was just beginning, and Marlon Samuels, the kid from California, whose parents sacrificed everything for his dreams, was about to walk into the office of the greatest basketball player who ever lived and fight for something even more important than basketball. He was about to fight for love. Marlon stood outside the Hornets practice facility in Charlotte, his hands sweating despite the cool November morning. He'd driven straight from Chicago after spending the night with Jasmine, fueled by adrenaline and determination and 3 cups of gas station coffee. Now, staring at the building, that determination was crumbling into terror. His phone buzzed. Jasmine. Are you there? Yeah, standing outside like an idiot. You don't have to do this, Marlon. We can find another way. There is no other way. You know that. He took a deep breath. I love you. Whatever happens in there, remember that I love you. I love you too. Call me after. If I survive. He meant it as a joke, but neither of them laughed. Marlon pocketed his phone and walked toward the entrance. The security guard looked up, recognition flickering across his face. Marlon Samuels. Pistons, right? Yeah, I'm here to see Michael Jordan. The guard's eyebrows shot up. Do you have an appointment? No, but tell him I'm here. Tell him it's about his daughter. The guard's expression shifted from surprise to something like pity. He picked up the phone, spoke quietly, then hung up. Someone's coming down. 5 minutes later, a woman in a sharp business suit appeared. Mr. Samuels? I'm Sarah Mitchell, Mr. Jordan's executive assistant. He wasn't expecting you. I know, but I need to speak with him. It's important. Sarah studied him for a long moment. Follow me. They walked through the facility in silence. Marlon passed the practice court where Hornets players were running drills, their laughter and trash talk echoing off the walls. A few players noticed him, pointed, whispered. Word would spread quickly that a Pistons player was here. Sarah led him to an elevator, pressed the button for the top floor. As they rode up, she said quietly, Mr. Jordan watched your last 3 games. He knows you've been struggling. Marlon's stomach dropped. Of course he'd been watching. The elevator doors opened to a hallway lined with photographs. Michael Jordan through the decades. College championship. First NBA title. The shrug. The flu game. 6 championship trophies. A lifetime of impossible achievements staring down at Marlon like a jury. Sarah stopped at a heavy wooden door. "He's expecting you now. He said to let you through." "Wait, he said that? Just now?" "No, 3 weeks ago after the game here. He told me that if you showed up, I should let you in." She gave him a small, sad smile. "Good luck, Mr. Samuels. You're going to need it." She knocked once and opened the door. Michael Jordan sat behind a massive oak desk, wearing a charcoal gray suit that probably cost more than Marlon's car. The office was immaculate. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, championship trophies in glass cases, framed jerseys on the walls. Everything about the space screamed power, legacy, untouchable greatness. Michael didn't stand, didn't smile, just looked at Marlon with those same intense eyes that had stared down opponents for 2 decades. "Sit down, Samuels." It wasn't an invitation, it was a command. Marlon sat in the chair across from the desk, feeling like a child called to the principal's office. He forced himself to meet Michael's gaze, to not look away. They stared at each other in silence for what felt like an eternity. Finally, Michael spoke. "You've got 3 minutes. Make them count." Marlon had rehearsed this moment 100 times during the drive from Chicago. He'd planned eloquent speeches about love and commitment and proving himself worthy. But sitting here, looking at the man whose poster had hung in his childhood bedroom, all those words evaporated. So he spoke from the heart instead. "I love your daughter, Mr. Jordan, and I know you think I'm not ready for what that means. That I don't understand the pressure, the scrutiny, the impossible expectations. But you're wrong." Michael's jaw tightened, but he didn't interrupt. "I grew up as the son of Chinese immigrants who sacrificed everything to give me opportunities they never had. My mother worked in a laundry, my father in a warehouse. They spoke broken English and faced discrimination every single day. People told them their dreams for me were impossible, that a kid who looked like me would never make it in the NBA, that they should be realistic, lower their expectations, accept less." Marlon leaned forward, his voice gaining strength. "They refused. They worked 3 jobs each. They saved every penny. They taught me that legacy isn't about living up to someone else's name. It's about honoring it while building your own. My mother fled everything she knew in China. My father left his entire family behind. They understand sacrifice better than anyone I've ever met. And they taught me that love, real love, is worth any sacrifice." "Pretty speech," Michael said coldly. "But words are cheap, Samuels. I've heard 1,000 pretty speeches from people who wanted something from me or my family. What makes you different?" "I don't want anything from you. Everyone wants something from me, not me. I don't want your endorsement. I don't want access to your network. I don't want advice on my game or help with my career. I just want your daughter. Just her. The woman who volunteers at youth basketball camps because she believes in giving back. Who's built her own company because she refuses to coast on your name. Who cries during dog food commercials and laughs at terrible jokes. It makes me want to be better than I ever thought possible." For the first time, something flickered in Michael's expression. Not quite softening, but a crack in the armor. "You think you know her," Michael said. "You've known her 6 months. I've known her 22 years. I've watched her grow up in this impossible shadow. Do you have any idea what it's like for her? The comparisons, the expectations, the people who pretend to care about her, but really just want access to me?" "No," Marlon admitted. "I don't know what that's like, but I know what it's like to be defined by something outside your control. To have people look at you and see only where you came from, not who you are. My whole life, I've been that Asian kid who somehow plays basketball. Never just Marlon, just like Jasmine has been Jordan's daughter her whole life. Never just Jasmine. That's not the same. You're right, it's not the same. Your shadow is 1,000 times bigger than anything I've experienced, but that's exactly why I understand her in ways most people can't. We're both fighting to be seen for who we really are, not who people expect us to be." Michael stood abruptly, walking to the windows overlooking the city. His back was to Marlon, shoulders tense. 3 weeks ago, when I told Jasmine what I told her, I wasn't trying to break you two up. Marlon's heart pounded. Here it was, the truth he'd been desperate to understand. I told her the reality of this life, Michael continued, still not turning around. The basketball life, the celebrity life, the life where everything you do is analyzed, criticized, turned into headlines. I told her that if she married you, she'd spend the next 40 years being compared to her mother, to my ex-wives, that every argument you have, people will say, just like Mike's marriage. Every career decision, every public appearance, every moment of happiness or sadness, it all becomes content, entertainment. A story for people who don't know you and don't care about you to consume and judge. Marlon listened, barely breathing. I told her that when you succeed, they'll say she's riding your coattails. When you fail, they'll blame her for distracting you. I told her your children, my grandchildren, won't just carry my name, they'll carry yours. Another generation crushed by expectations they never asked for, never wanted, never had a chance to escape. Michael finally turned around, and Marlon was shocked to see moisture in his eyes. I told her that I couldn't bear to watch her live the life that destroyed my happiness. That broke my first marriage. That made my children grow up with cameras in their faces and strangers judging every parenting decision I made. Not because you're not good enough, Samuels, but because this life, our life, it eats love alive. It takes beautiful things and crushes them under the weight of scrutiny and pressure and impossible standards. The room fell silent. Marlon felt the weight of those words, understood the pain beneath them. You told her to choose peace over passion, Marlon said quietly, to find someone who could give her anonymity, a quiet life. Yes, because you love her too much to watch her suffer like you did. Yes, Michael's voice cracked slightly. I've destroyed people with words before, on the court, in business meetings, in negotiations. But what I said to my daughter that night was different. I wasn't trying to destroy anything. I was trying to protect her from destruction. Marlon stood up, his legs shaky, but his resolve firm. Mr. Jordan, everything you said is true. This life will be brutal. The scrutiny, the comparisons, the pressure, it's all real. And yes, people will say terrible things about us, about our children if we have them. They'll try to tear us apart just to have something to talk about. Then you understand why. But you're wrong about one thing. Marlon's voice was steady now, certain. You think your legacy is a curse to the people you love. You think it's a shadow that crushes everything beautiful. But watching Jasmine navigate the world with grace, intelligence, and strength, despite living in that shadow, that's your real legacy. Not championships, not scoring titles. Her, the woman you raised, the woman who's strong enough to build her own identity despite everything working against her. Michael stared at him, jaw tight. If she's strong enough to do that, Marlon continued, then maybe, just maybe, we're strong enough to build something that survives this life. Not because we're special or different from everyone else, but because we know what we're walking into, because we're choosing this with our eyes open. You're a child, Michael said, but there was less bite in his voice. You have no idea what you're signing up for. You're right. I'm 24 years old. I've been in the NBA for 2 years. I don't have your wisdom or experience or perspective, but I have something you lost somewhere along the way. What's that? Hope. Marlon took a step closer. Hope that love doesn't have to die under pressure. Hope that maybe the next generation can do better than the last. Hope that your daughter's story doesn't have to be your story. Michael's expression was unreadable. Hope is for fools. Then I'm a fool who loves your daughter enough to stand in this office and tell you that I'm not going anywhere, that I'm going to ask her to marry me, that I'm going to do everything in my power to protect her, support her, and make sure her fire never dims no matter how hard the world tries to extinguish it. And when that's not enough, Michael's voice rose, when the pressure breaks you, when the headlines get too cruel, when your career suffers because you're distracted, when she gets blamed for your failures, what then, Samuels? What happens when hope isn't enough? Then we lean on each other. Marlon's voice rose to match. Then we remember why we chose this. Then we fight harder, but we do it together, not separately, not with you pulling her one way and me pulling another. Together. You think you can carry that shadow? Michael stepped closer, and suddenly Marlon understood how opposing players must have felt facing him on the court. You think you're strong enough to help her bear the weight of being Michael Jordan's daughter and Marlon Samuel's wife? That's two impossible legacies, kid. Most men couldn't carry one. I'm not asking to carry it alone. Marlon held his ground. I'm asking you to help me carry it. I'm asking you to stop trying to protect her from everything and start teaching us how to navigate it. You survived this life. You built an empire despite it. Help us do the same instead of assuming we'll fail. Michael went very still. You want my help? His voice was dangerously quiet. No, I want your blessing. But if helping us is what it takes to get that blessing, then yes, help us. Or at least stop working against us. The silence stretched between them, heavy and charged. Marlon could hear his own heartbeat, feel sweat dripping down his back despite the air conditioning. Finally, Michael walked back to his desk and sat down. Get out of my office, Samuels. Marlon's heart sank. He'd failed. He'd said everything he could possibly say, and it wasn't enough. He turned to leave, each step feeling like defeat. He was almost to the door when Michael's voice stopped him. Samuels. Marlon turned around. Michael's expression had changed, still serious, still intense. But something had shifted, something almost imperceptible softening the hard edges. Sunday dinner, 6 p.m., my house, don't be late. Marlon stared at him, not quite believing what he'd heard. Sir, you heard me. And Samuels? Michael leaned back in his chair. Don't make me regret this. Don't make her regret this. Because if you hurt my daughter, if you let this life break her, I will destroy you in ways that have nothing to do with basketball. Are we clear? Crystal clear, sir. And stop calling me sir. Makes me feel ancient. The ghost of a smile flickered across Michael's face. You can call me Michael, for now. Marlon felt like his legs might give out. Thank you. Thank you, Don't thank me yet. You still have to survive dinner with the whole family. My other kids aren't going to make this easy on you. I can handle it. We'll see. Michael picked up a pen, returning to the papers on his desk. Close the door on your way out. Marlon walked out of that office in a daze. He made it to the elevator, down to the parking lot, into his car. Then he sat there, hands trembling on the steering wheel, and called Jasmine. She answered before the first ring finished. Marlon? What happened? Are you okay? Sunday dinner, he said, his voice shaking. Your dad invited me to Sunday dinner. Jasmine went silent. Then, what did you say to him? Everything. I said everything. Marlon laughed, the sound slightly hysterical. I stood in Michael Jordan's office and told him I was going to marry his daughter whether he liked it or not. You didn't. I did. And Jazz? He didn't throw me out. He didn't threaten me. He invited me to dinner. Oh my God, Jasmine was crying, but it sounded like relief. Oh my God, Marlon. What does this mean? Does this mean he's okay with us? I don't know, maybe. But dinner with the whole family? Marlon, that's huge. He doesn't bring people into the family circle unless he's considering them. Considering them for what? For us, for the family, for staying. Marlon leaned his head back against the seat, closing his eyes. I'm terrified. Me too, but we're terrified together now. That's something, right? That's everything, us Marlon said. Jazz, I need to tell you something. What your dad said to you that night. He told me, all of it. Jasmine's breath caught. He did. Every word. And he was right. About the pressure, the scrutiny, how hard it's going to be. But I told him something too. What? That love doesn't have to die under pressure. That maybe we can write a different story than his. That maybe your strength and my hope are enough to build something that survives. Jasmine was quiet for a long moment. Then she said softly, Do you really believe that? I have to believe it, because the alternative is losing you, and that's not an option. Sunday dinner, Jasmine said, and Marlon could hear the smile in her voice. You're really doing this. We're really doing this. My brothers are going to grill you, my sister's going to test you, and my dad. Marlon, he's going to be watching everything. Every word, every reaction, every move you make. Good, Marlon said. Let him watch. Let him see that I'm exactly who I say I am. Let him see that I love you enough to face whatever comes. I love you, Marlon Samuels. I love you too, Jasmine Jordan. After they hung up, Marlon sat in the parking lot for another 20 minutes, processing everything that had just happened. He'd walked into that office expecting a war and had somehow walked out with an invitation. But he wasn't naive. This wasn't acceptance. Not yet. This was Michael Jordan giving him a chance to prove himself. A test, a trial. And Marlon was determined to pass it. He started the car and headed back toward Detroit, already thinking about Sunday. About meeting Jasmine's siblings, about sitting at a table with Michael Jordan and trying to act like a normal person instead of a terrified kid who'd idolized him his entire life. But underneath the terror was something else. Hope. The same hope he'd spoken about in that office. Hope that maybe, just maybe, love really could survive the impossible. That maybe they could write a different ending than the one Michael feared. That maybe the greatest victory of his life wouldn't be on a basketball court. It would be at a dinner table, proving to the greatest player who ever lived that his daughter had chosen well. That Marlon Samuels was exactly the man she deserved. The drive back to Detroit felt shorter somehow, lighter, like the weight that had been crushing his chest for 3 weeks had finally lifted just enough to breathe. His phone buzzed with a text from his mother. "Did you do it? Did you fight for her?" Marlon smiled and typed back, "I fought, and I think we might have won. That's my son. Your father and I are proud of you." As Marlon drove through the North Carolina countryside, watching the sun climb higher in the sky, he thought about his parents, about their impossible journey from China to America, about all the times they'd been told their dreams were foolish, their love not enough, their sacrifices pointless, and how they'd proved everyone wrong. Maybe that was the real legacy, not championships or fame or greatness, just the courage to choose love despite impossible odds. Just the strength to stand in front of someone who could destroy you and say, "I'm not backing down." Just the hope that maybe, just maybe, the next generation can do better. Sunday couldn't come fast enough. Sunday arrived with the weight of Judgment Day. Marlon stood outside Michael Jordan's estate in Highland Park, a gated community north of Charlotte where homes cost more than Marlon would make in 5 years. The house itself was massive, modern architecture with floor-to-ceiling windows, immaculate landscaping, and a basketball court visible in the backyard. Of course there's a basketball court, Marlon thought, wiping his sweating palms on his dress pants for the 3rd time. Jasmine pulled up beside him in her car, stepping out in a simple blue dress that made her look both elegant and nervous. She grabbed his hand immediately. "You look like you're going to pass out," she said. "I feel like I'm going to pass out. Is it too late to run?" "Way too late. They've already seen your car." She squeezed his hand. "Marlon, listen to me. My brothers are going to try to intimidate you. My sister's going to ask impossible questions. And my dad is going to watch everything like a hawk. But you've already done the hardest part. You stood in his office and fought for us. This is just dinner. Just dinner with Michael Jordan and his entire family. No pressure." Jasmine smiled and kissed his cheek. "You've got this, and I've got you." They walked to the front door together. Before Jasmine could knock, it swung open. A teenage boy stood there, tall and athletic with Michael's eyes. "You must be Marlon. I'm Marlon too. Marlon Jordan Jr., but everyone calls me MJ to avoid confusion, which is ironic since there's already a famous MJ in the family." "Nice to meet you," Marlon said, relieved by the kid's friendly tone. "Don't let him fool you," Jasmine whispered. "He's the nice one. Wait until you meet Jeffrey." They entered a foyer that looked like something from an architectural magazine. A curved staircase led to the 2nd floor, and Marlon could hear voices and laughter coming from deeper in the house. "Everyone's in the dining room," MJ said. "Fair warning, Jeffrey's already started the interrogation questions. He's got a whole list." "Of course he does," Jasmine muttered. They walked through the house, past walls decorated with tasteful family photos. Not the basketball glory shots Marlon expected, but genuine family moments, birthday parties, graduations, Christmases. It made Michael Jordan seem almost normal. The dining room was enormous with a table that could seat 20. Currently, it held 7 people. Michael sat at the head, wearing a casual polo shirt and jeans, looking more relaxed than he had in his office. A woman Marlon didn't recognize. Tall, elegant, with kind eyes, sat beside him. "Marlon, this is Yvette," Michael said. "My partner." "Nice to meet you, just Yvette," she said warmly, standing to shake his hand. "I've heard a lot about you. All good things, I promise." "Lies," a man in his late 20s said from across the table. He had Michael's height and intensity. "I've heard terrible things. Like you scored 38 points against our team. That's pretty offensive, Samuels." "That's Jeffrey," Jasmine said. "My older brother. Ignore him." "Ignore me? I'm the voice of reason here." Jeffrey leaned back in his chair, studying Marlon like a specimen under a microscope. "So, Marlon Samuels, Pistons point guard, second year in the league, career average of 14 points and 6 assists. Not bad, but nothing spectacular. What makes you think you're good enough for our sister?" "Jeffrey!" A young woman beside him swatted his arm. She looked about Jasmine's age, with her mother's features and a sharp intelligence in her eyes. "Don't be a jerk." "Hi, Marlon. I'm Victoria, the only sane sibling." "Also a lie," MJ called from the end of the table. "She's the most judgmental one. She just hides it better." "I prefer discerning," Victoria said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She studied Marlon carefully. "It's interesting that you're here. Dad doesn't usually invite Jasmine's boyfriends to family dinner. Actually, he's never invited anyone to family dinner." "That's enough," Michael said, his voice carrying easy authority. "Let the man sit down before you tear him apart. Marlon, sit next to Jasmine. You want something to drink?" "Water's fine, thank you." The next 20 minutes were some of the most awkward of Marlon's life. Staff brought out food, a feast of BBQ ribs, mac and cheese, collard greens, cornbread, and sweet potato pie for dessert. Southern comfort food that made Marlon's mouth water despite his nervousness. Jeffrey dominated the conversation, asking pointed questions disguised as small talk. "So, Marlon, you grew up in California? Must be nice having weather that doesn't make you want to die half the year." "It was good. My parents worked hard to give me opportunities." "Speaking of opportunities, how's your season going? I noticed you got benched in the last 3 games." "Rough patch?" Marlon felt his jaw tighten. "Every player goes through slumps." "Sure, but your slump coincidentally started right after our game here. The one where you scored 38. Interesting timing, almost like something was distracting you." Jeffrey's eyes flicked to Jasmine, then back to Marlon. "Jeffrey, that's enough," Michael said quietly. "I'm just making conversation, Dad." "No, you're being an ass. Knock it off." Victoria jumped in, her approach more subtle but equally cutting. "Marlon, I read that your parents immigrated from China. That must have been incredibly difficult for them. Do you speak Mandarin?" "Some. My mother taught me, but I'm not fluent." "That's a shame. Language is such an important connection to culture. Must be hard being caught between 2 worlds, never quite fitting in either one." The comment stung because it was true. Marlon had spent his childhood too Chinese for his American classmates, too American for his Chinese relatives. "I manage," he said evenly. "I'm sure you do. Adaptation is important, especially when you're entering a family with such a significant legacy. Speaking of which, have you thought about how you'll handle the media attention? Dating a Jordan isn't exactly low profile." "Victoria," Jasmine said, her voice tight, "can we maybe not interrogate my boyfriend during dinner?" "I'm not interrogating. I'm interested. There's a difference." "Barely," MJ muttered, earning him a glare from his sister. The tension at the table was suffocating. Marlon felt like he was being slowly dissected, every weakness exposed and examined. He glanced at Michael, who was eating his ribs calmly, occasionally watching the exchange, but not interfering. This was a test, Marlon realized. Michael was letting his children challenge Marlon, seeing how he'd respond. Would he fight back, get defensive, break under pressure? So Marlon did something unexpected. He laughed. The table went quiet, everyone staring at him. "I'm sorry," Marlon said, still chuckling. "It's just, you guys are good, really good. The coordinated attack, the pointed questions, making me doubt myself. It's impressive, like a full-court press but at a dinner table. Jeffrey's eyes narrowed. We're not attacking you. Yes, you are, and I get it. You love your sister. You're protective. You want to make sure I'm worthy of her, that I'm not using her, that I can handle the pressure of this family. Those are fair concerns, so let me address them directly. Marlon set down his fork and looked at each of them in turn. Jeffrey, you're right. I got benched after the Charlotte game. My performance suffered because I was heartbroken. Your father said something to Jasmine that scared her enough to break up with me, and I fell apart. Not because I'm weak or distracted, but because I love her, really love her. The kind of love that makes everything else feel small. He turned to Victoria. And you're right too. I'm caught between cultures, never quite fitting in anywhere. But that's exactly why I understand Jasmine. She's caught between being herself and being Michael Jordan's daughter, between building her own legacy and honoring his. I know what that's like, trying to honor your parents' sacrifice while becoming your own person. That's not a weakness. That's something we share. The room was silent now, everyone listening. I'm not perfect, Marlon continued. I'm not the best player in the league. I'm not the smartest guy or the richest or the most successful. But I see your sister for who she really is, not whose daughter she is. I love the way she cries during dog food commercials, the way she volunteers at youth basketball camps because she believes in giving back, the way she's built her own company because she refuses to coast on her father's name. That's who I love. Not the Jordan legacy. Her. Victoria's expression softened slightly. Jeffrey looked less hostile, more thoughtful. So yes, Marlon said, picking up his fork again. You can keep testing me. Keep asking hard questions. Keep trying to find reasons I'm not good enough. But at the end of this dinner, I'm still going to love your sister, and I'm still going to do everything in my power to make her happy. The only question is whether you're going to help us or fight us. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Michael's voice broke the silence. Jazz, stand up. Jasmine looked at her father, confused. What? Stand up, both of you. Marlon and Jasmine stood, hands instinctively finding each other under the table. Michael stood as well, his tall frame commanding attention. The playfulness from earlier was gone, replaced by the intensity that had defined his career. 3 weeks ago, Michael said, his voice heavy, I told my daughter something that made her cry, that made her believe she had to choose between her happiness and her family. That made her think loving this man would destroy her life. Jasmine's hand tightened in Marlon's. Dad, she started, but Michael held up a hand. No, let me finish. Because Marlon deserves to know what I said. You all deserve to know what I said. And Jazz, you deserve to say it out loud because you've been carrying it alone for too long. Michael walked around the table to stand in front of them. When I found out you were seeing Marlon, he said to Jasmine, I panicked. Not because of him specifically, but because of what it represented. Another generation entering this life, this brutal, impossible, soul-crushing life of public scrutiny and endless pressure. His voice grew quieter, more vulnerable than Marlon had ever heard it. I told you that if you married him, or any NBA player, you'd spend the next 40 years being compared to your mother, to my ex-wives. Every argument you have, people will say, just like Mike's marriage. Every career decision, every moment of joy or pain, it all becomes content. A story for strangers to judge. Tears were streaming down Jasmine's face now. I told you that when Marlon succeeds, they'll say you're riding his coattails. When he fails, they'll blame you for distracting him. Your children, my grandchildren, they won't just carry my name, they'll carry his too. Another generation crushed by expectations they never asked for. Michael's own eyes were glistening now, his legendary composure cracking. I told her, he said, looking directly at Marlon, that I couldn't bear to watch her live the life that destroyed my happiness. That broke my first marriage. That made my children grow up with cameras in their faces and every parenting decision criticized in tabloids. Not because you're not good enough, but because this life, our life, it eats love alive. The silence in the room was absolute. Everyone was staring at Michael, shocked by his raw honesty. I told my daughter, Michael said, his voice breaking completely now, to choose peace over passion, to find a man who could give her anonymity, a quiet life away from basketball, away from fame, away from the shadow I cast over everything I touch. Because I love her too much to watch her suffer like I did, like her mother did. Like everyone who's ever loved someone in the spotlight has suffered. Jasmine was openly sobbing now. Marlon pulled her close, his own throat tight with emotion. That's what I said to her, Michael finished, looking around the table at his other children. That's what terrified her. Not a threat, not anger, just a father's desperate attempt to spare his daughter the pain he endured. Dad, Victoria whispered, tears in her own eyes. We didn't know you felt that way. How could you? I've spent your entire lives pretending the pressure doesn't exist, pretending this life is normal, but it's not normal. It's never been normal, and I'm tired of pretending it doesn't cost us. Michael turned back to Marlon and Jasmine. But standing here now, watching you two, I realized something. I've been so focused on protecting Jazz from pain that I almost crushed her under the weight of my fear. I assumed your story would be my story, that you'd make my mistakes, that history would repeat itself. He took a deep breath. But you're not me and Juanita. You're not me and any of my ex-wives. You're Marlon and Jasmine. Two people walking into this with your eyes open. Two people who know exactly what you're facing and choosing it anyway. Michael extended his hand to Marlon. In my office, you asked me to help you carry the shadow instead of making you fight through it alone. I thought about that a lot this week, about what it means to help instead of hinder, about what it means to trust that the next generation might do better than mine did. Marlon shook his hand, feeling the strength in that legendary grip. So here's how you carry that shadow, Samuels. You protect her fire. The world is going to try to dim it. Your job, your only job, is to make sure it burns brighter. You keep her laughing when headlines get cruel. You remind her who she is when the world tries to tell her different. You build her up when pressure tries to tear her down. Can you do that? Yes, sir, I can do that. And Jazz, Michael said, turning to his daughter, your job is to do the same for him. This goes both ways. He's going to have rough games, bad seasons, moments when he doubts himself. You protect his fire too. You remind him why he fell in love with basketball in the first place. You stand beside him when critics try to tear him down. That's what partnership is. Not one person carrying all the weight, but both of you sharing it. Jasmine nodded, unable to speak through her tears. And both of you, Michael said, his voice growing stronger, you remember this moment, remember this conversation, because when it gets hard, and it will get hard, you come back to this. You remember that love doesn't have to die under pressure, that maybe, just maybe, you're strong enough to write a different story. He looked around the table at his other children. And you three, you support them, you protect them. You don't let the media or the haters or anyone else tear them apart. Family first, always, understood? Understood, Jeffrey said quietly, looking at Marlon with new respect. Understood, Victoria echoed, wiping her eyes. Already on it, MJ said with a grin. I've been Team Marlon since he showed up here today, not puking from fear. Michael pulled Jasmine into a hug, holding her tight. I'm sorry, he whispered, loud enough for everyone to hear. I'm sorry I let my fear almost cost you your happiness. I'm sorry I made you choose between love and family. You should never have to make that choice. I love you, Dad, Jasmine sobbed into his chest. I love you so much. I love you too, baby girl. More than basketball, more than championships, more than anything. When they finally pulled apart, Michael turned to Marlon. You still terrified of me? Marlon laughed shakily. Absolutely. But that's not going to stop me from loving your daughter. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. Just don't let it paralyze you. Michael clapped him on the shoulder. Now sit down and finish your dinner before the ribs get cold. Yvette made her famous mac and cheese, and it's criminal to let it go to waste. The tension in the room shattered like glass. Everyone started talking at once, the conversation flowing naturally now. Jeffrey started telling embarrassing stories about Jasmine's childhood. Victoria asked Marlon about his parents, genuinely interested this time. MJ challenged him to a game of one-on-one after dinner. Marlon sat beside Jasmine, their hands intertwined under the table, and felt something he hadn't felt in weeks. Peace. Not because the challenges ahead had disappeared, not because the pressure would magically vanish, but because they were facing it together now, with family support, with Michael's blessing, with hope. After dinner, Marlon helped clear the table despite protests that he was a guest. Michael cornered him in the kitchen while everyone else moved to the living room. "Samuels, one more thing." Marlon braced himself. "Yes, sir." "That speech you gave at dinner about seeing Jazz for who she is, not whose daughter she is. You meant that? Every word." Michael studied him for a long moment. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a worn basketball, smaller than regulation size. It looked ancient. The leather cracked and faded. "This was the ball from my first NBA game. My father gave me advice that night that I forgot somewhere along the way. He said, don't play their game, play yours. I spent so much time trying to be what everyone expected that I forgot what I actually wanted." He handed the ball to Marlon. "I'm giving this to you and Jazz together. Not as a blessing exactly, but as a reminder. Don't play my game. Don't play the media's game. Play your own game. Build your own life. Make your own mistakes. And when people compare you to me, and they will, remember that you're not trying to be me. You're trying to be you." Marlon held the ball reverently, understanding the weight of the gesture. "Thank you. This means... I don't even have words for what this means. Don't thank me yet. You still have to deal with Jazz's mood swings, her terrible taste in movies, and her habit of stealing the covers at night." Marlon laughed. "How do you know about the covers? I raised her. I know everything." Michael smiled, and for the first time it reached his eyes. "Take care of her, Samuels, and let her take care of you. That's the secret nobody tells you. The strongest people still need someone to lean on." They rejoined the family in the living room, where Jasmine was showing Victoria photos on her phone, both of them laughing. Jeffrey and MJ were arguing about some basketball game on TV. Yvette was reading a book in the corner, occasionally smiling at the chaos around her. It was beautifully, perfectly normal. Marlon sat beside Jasmine, and she immediately curled into his side. "You okay?" she whispered. "Better than okay. Your dad gave us his first NBA ball." "He what?" Jasmine sat up, eyes wide. "Marlon, he's never given that to anyone. He keeps it in his office safe. He told me once he was saving it for something important." "Apparently we're something important." Jasmine kissed him softly, not caring that her entire family could see. "We are something important," she said. "The most important thing." As the evening wore on, Marlon felt the last of his tension fade away. This family wasn't perfect. They had scars and complications and a legacy that would follow them forever. But they were real. They were trying. And most importantly, they were willing to give Marlon and Jasmine a chance. Around midnight, Marlon and Jasmine finally said their goodbyes. Jeffrey shook his hand with genuine warmth. Victoria hugged him and whispered, "Hurt her, and I'll destroy your career myself. But welcome to the family." MJ made him promise to teach him that crossover move he'd used against Charlotte. Michael walked them to the door. "Next Sunday," he said. "Same time. Bring your parents, Samuels. I want to meet the people who raised you." Marlon's heart swelled. "Really? Really, if we're doing this, we're doing it right." Family meets family. As they drove away from the estate, Jasmine's hand in his, Marlon felt tears prick his eyes. "What's wrong?" Jasmine asked, concerned. "Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. For the first time in weeks, everything's finally right. My dad really gave you his first NBA ball. He said we should play our own game, build our own story." Jasmine smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "I like that. Our own story. Our own impossible, beautiful, terrifying story." "The best kind," Jasmine agreed. And somewhere behind them, in that massive house, Michael Jordan stood at the window and watched them drive away. He thought about his own mistakes, his failed marriages, the pain he'd caused trying to protect the people he loved. But he also thought about second chances, about the courage it took to trust that the next generation might do better, about how sometimes the greatest victory isn't winning, it's letting go of fear long enough to hope. He picked up his phone and called his ex-wife, Juanita. "She's happy," he said when she answered. "Jazz." She's really happy." "I know," Juanita said softly. "I talked to her yesterday. She told me everything. About Marlon. About what you said to her. About dinner tonight. I almost ruined it. My fear almost cost her everything. But it didn't. You caught yourself in time. That's what matters. I gave them my first NBA ball." Juanita was quiet for a moment. "The one your father gave you." "Yeah. Michael, that's huge. You've held on to that ball for 40 years. They need it more than I do. They need to remember it's not about living up to my legacy. It's about building theirs." "You did good," Juanita said, and Michael heard the smile in her voice. "You finally did good." After they hung up, Michael poured himself a bourbon and stood on his back porch, looking out at the basketball court where his children had learned to shoot. The court where he'd tried to prepare them for a life he wasn't sure they'd ever be ready for. But maybe that was the point. Maybe nobody was ever ready for this life. You just had to be brave enough to try anyway. Brave enough to love despite the impossible odds. Brave enough to hope that maybe, just maybe, love really could survive the pressure. Michael raised his glass to the night sky, to his children, to the young couple driving toward their future. "Play your own game," he whispered, "and maybe write a better ending than I did." Somewhere in the darkness, the universe seemed to whisper back, "Maybe they will." 1 year later, Marlon stood at the altar of a small chapel in Napa Valley, watching Jasmine walk toward him on her father's arm. The wedding was intimate, only 70 guests, mostly family and close friends. No media. No cameras except for one photographer sworn to secrecy. Just the people who mattered most, gathered to witness something that had once seemed impossible. Jasmine looked breathtaking in a simple ivory dress, her hair swept back, her smile radiant. But it was the look in her eyes that made Marlon's breath catch. Pure joy, untainted by fear or doubt. Michael Jordan walked his daughter down the aisle with tears streaming freely down his face, not bothering to hide them. When they reached the altar, he didn't just hand her off. He pulled Marlon into a tight embrace first. "You keep your promise," Michael whispered in his ear. "You protect her fire." "Every single day," Marlon whispered back. "I promise." Michael kissed Jasmine's forehead, then took his seat in the front row beside Juanita. Despite their divorce, they sat together, united in this moment by their love for their daughter. The ceremony was beautiful in its simplicity. No elaborate speeches or grand gestures, just two people promising to choose each other every day through whatever came next. When the officiant said, "You may kiss your bride," Marlon cupped Jasmine's face in his hands and kissed her like it was the first time and the last time all at once. The small crowd erupted in applause and cheers. "Ladies and gentlemen," the officiant announced, "I present to you Mr. Marlon Samuels and Mrs. Jasmine Curtis Jordan Samuels." Jasmine had chosen to keep all her names. Curtis for her mother's family, Jordan for her father's legacy, and Samuels for the future she was building with Marlon. It was long and complicated, and perfectly her. The reception was held in a vineyard overlooking rolling hills. String lights hung between trees, a small jazz band played in the corner, and the evening air was warm and perfect. During dinner, Michael stood to give his toast. The room fell silent immediately, everyone curious what the greatest basketball player of all time would say about his daughter's wedding. "People ask me what my greatest achievement is," Michael began, his voice strong but emotional. 6 championships, 5 MVPs, 14 All-Star games. They want me to rank them, to tell them which trophy meant the most. He looked at Jasmine, his eyes glistening. "But they're wrong. Those trophies are in cases collecting dust. My greatest achievement is standing here tonight, watching my daughter choose her own path despite every reason I gave her not to. Despite every fear I tried to plant in her head. Despite my attempts to protect her from a life I thought would destroy her." Michael paused, gathering himself. "Jazz, I'm sorry I almost let my pain become your prison. I'm sorry I couldn't see that you're stronger than I ever was. That maybe the reason you're stronger is because you learn from my mistakes instead of repeating them." He turned to Marlon. "And Samuels, Marlon, I'm sorry I judged you before I knew you. I saw an NBA player and assumed you'd be like everyone else. That you'd want something from my family, from my name, from my legacy. But you proved me wrong in the most important way possible. You just wanted her, Just Jazz. The woman, not the name. Marlon felt his throat tighten, remembering that day in Michael's office. How terrified he'd been. How impossible it had all seemed. "A year ago," Michael continued, "I told my daughter that this life, the basketball life, the celebrity life, it eats love alive. I told her that marrying an NBA player would mean a lifetime of scrutiny, comparison, and impossible pressure. And I was right about that. The pressure is real. The comparisons will happen. People will judge every decision you make, every argument you have, every moment of your lives." The room was absolutely silent, everyone hanging on his words. But what I didn't tell her, what I forgot in my fear, is that pressure either crushes you or creates diamonds. And watching you two this past year, I've seen something I didn't see in my own marriages. I've seen partnership, real partnership. Not one person carrying all the weight while the other struggles, but both of you lifting together, supporting each other, protecting each other's fire. Michael raised his glass. "So here's my toast. Don't play my game. Don't live my life. Don't repeat my mistakes. Play your own game. Build your own marriage. Write your own story. And when people compare you to me, and they will, remember that you're not trying to be Michael and Juanita, or Michael and anyone else. You're trying to be Marlon and Jasmine. And from what I've seen, that's more than enough." The room erupted in applause and tears. Jasmine was crying openly, Marlon beside her. They stood and walked to Michael, embracing him together. "Thank you, Dad," Jasmine whispered, "for letting us find our own way." "Thank you for being brave enough to try," Michael replied. Later in the evening, Marlon's parents took the floor for their toast. Lynn Samuels stood beside her husband, Wei, both of them beaming with pride and joy. "We came to America 26 years ago with 2 suitcases and a dream," Lynn began in accented but clear English. "People told us we were foolish, that we should stay in China where we knew the language, knew the culture, knew how things worked. They said our dream for our son was impossible, that a Chinese boy would never make it in the NBA, that we were setting him up for disappointment and heartbreak." Wei nodded, his arm around his wife. "But we didn't come here for easy," Lynn continued. "We came here for possible. And Marlon, you made the impossible real. Not just basketball, but this. Finding a woman who sees you, really sees you, for who you are. Building a life based on love, not convenience or expectation or fear." She turned to Jasmine. "When Marlon first told me about you, he couldn't say your last name. He said, 'Mom, I met someone, and I'm terrified because her father has power to destroy my career. But I'm more terrified of living without her.' That's when I knew. That's when I knew this was real." Lynn walked over and took Jasmine's hands. "You gave my son something we couldn't give him. A reason to be brave that had nothing to do with basketball. A reason to stand up to fear instead of running from it. Thank you for that. Thank you for choosing him when choosing him was hard." Jasmine hugged Lynn tightly, both women crying now. Wei cleared his throat, emotional but trying to maintain composure. "In China, we have a saying, 'A family in harmony will prosper in everything.' Marlon, Jasmine, you are building that harmony, not perfect harmony, that doesn't exist. But the harmony of 2 people who choose each other even when it's difficult, even when the world says it won't work. That kind of harmony is stronger than any obstacle." He raised his glass. "To Marlon and Jasmine, may your love be stronger than your fears. May your partnership be deeper than your differences. And may you always remember, the impossible is just the possible waiting for someone brave enough to try." The room exploded in applause again. Marlon hugged his parents, overcome with emotion and gratitude for everything they'd sacrificed, everything they'd taught him. As the evening progressed, Jeffrey pulled Marlon aside near the bar. "I owe you an apology," Jeffrey said, his usual bravado gone. "That first dinner, I was a complete asshole to you. You were protecting your sister, I get it. No, I was projecting." Jeffrey took a sip of his drink. "I've watched every guy Jazz has dated treat her like a stepping stone to Dad, like she was just a networking opportunity. It made me cynical, made me assume you were the same. But I'm not. I know that now. I've watched you this year. The way you support her business, show up to her events, brag about her accomplishments to anyone who'll listen. You're not using her. You're celebrating her. That's different. Jeffrey extended his hand. Welcome to the family, Marlon. For real this time. They shook hands, then Jeffrey pulled him into a quick hug. Just so you know, Jeffrey said quietly, if you ever hurt her, I will make your life miserable in ways that have nothing to do with basketball. But I don't think I have to worry about that. You don't, Marlon promised. Victoria approached next, elegant in her bridesmaid dress. Dance with me? She asked. They moved to the dance floor as the band played a slow jazz number. I was wrong about you too, Victoria said as they swayed. I thought you couldn't handle the pressure of this family, that you'd crack under the weight of Dad's legacy. The jury's still out on that, Marlon admitted. Some days are harder than others. But you're still here, still fighting. That counts for something. Victoria smiled. Jazz told me about the bad stretch you had after Dad talked to her, how you got benched, lost confidence, almost gave up basketball entirely. Not my proudest moment. No, it was your realest moment. You proved that she matters more to you than the game. That's when I knew you were genuine. Victoria squeezed his hand. Take care of my sister. She acts tough, but she's more fragile than people think. This family, this legacy, it's taken pieces of all of us. Don't let it take pieces of her. I won't, Marlon said. I promise. As midnight approached, Marlon and Jasmine snuck away from the reception for a moment alone. They walked through the vineyard, hand in hand, under a canopy of stars. How are you feeling? Marlon asked. Happy, terrified, overwhelmed? Perfect. Jasmine leaned her head on his shoulder. A year ago, I thought this was impossible. I thought loving you meant choosing between you and my family, between happiness and loyalty. And now I realize I don't have to choose, that the people who really love us want us to be happy, even when that happiness looks different than they imagine. They stopped walking, and Marlon turned to face her. Your dad told me something before the ceremony. He said that pressure either crushes you or creates diamonds. And I've been thinking about that all day. What about it? This past year has been pressure, Jazz. Constant pressure. The media found out about us 3 months after that first Sunday dinner. Remember the headlines? Jordan's daughter dating NBA rival. Marlon Samuels using family connections to advance career. All that garbage. Jasmine winced, remembering. It was brutal. But we survived it. We survived trade rumors that said I was trying to get traded to Charlotte to be closer to your dad's influence. We survived that interview where the reporter asked if you were just a status girlfriend. We survived my bad games when people said you were a distraction. We survived your business launch when people said you only got clients because of your last name. We did, Jasmine agreed softly. So I guess what I'm saying is, your dad was right. The pressure is real. It's not going away. If anything, it's going to get worse. We'll have kids someday and they'll face it too. People will compare them to your dad, to me, to everyone. They'll have expectations they never asked for. Jasmine's expression grew worried. Marlon, but here's the thing. We're not crushed. We're becoming diamonds. He took both her hands. Every challenge we've faced together. Every headline, every criticism, every moment of doubt. We didn't let it separate us. We let it strengthen us. Tears filled Jasmine's eyes. I love you so much. I love you too. And I'm not scared anymore. I thought I had to be perfect to deserve you, to prove to your dad and your siblings and the world that I was worthy. But I don't have to be perfect. I just have to be present. I just have to keep showing up, keep choosing you, keep protecting your fire while you protect mine. Jasmine kissed him deeply, pouring a year's worth of gratitude and love and hope into that kiss. When they finally pulled apart, she said, you know what the best part of today was? What? Watching my parents sit together in the front row, seeing them united, not by marriage anymore, but by love for their children. Seeing my dad cry happy tears instead of regretful ones. Knowing that we somehow healed something broken just by being brave enough to try. Marlon pulled her close, holding her under the stars. We're going to make it, Jazz. I know that sounds naive, but I really believe it. We're going to build something that lasts. Even when it's hard? Especially when it's hard. They stood there for a long time, just holding each other before heading back to the reception. The last dance of the night was between Jasmine and her father. The band played My Girl, and Michael Jordan, the man who'd faced down the best players in the world without flinching, wept openly as he danced with his daughter. "I'm so proud of you," he whispered, "not for marrying Marlon, though he's a good man, but for being brave enough to choose your own life, for not letting my fear become your fear. You taught me to be brave, Dad. You taught me to face impossible odds and fight anyway. I just applied those lessons to love instead of basketball." Michael laughed through his tears. "I guess I did. Though I wish you'd picked an easier opponent than an NBA player." "Where's the fun in easy? That's my girl." He spun her gently. "You know, when you were little, you used to tell me you were going to change the world. I thought you meant through business or charity or something conventional. But this, choosing love despite impossible circumstances, building a partnership that breaks the pattern of my mistakes, this is changing the world. At least it's changing our world." "Our world is pretty big," Jasmine said with a smile. "It is, and you've made it better just by being brave." As the song ended, Michael hugged his daughter tightly. "Go build your life, baby girl. Your beautiful, impossible, perfectly imperfect life. And when people compare it to mine, you tell them it's not supposed to be mine. It's supposed to be yours." "I will. Dad, I promise." Marlon and Jasmine left the reception around 1 a.m., waving goodbye to family and friends as they climbed into the car decorated with "Just Married" signs. As they drove away toward their hotel, Jasmine rested her hand on Marlon's leg. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For what?" "For not giving up. That night when I called you crying, telling you we had to end things. You could have accepted it, could have walked away and saved yourself a lot of pain and pressure, but you didn't. You fought for us." "There was never any other option, Jazz. Walking away from you would have been walking away from the best part of myself." They drove in comfortable silence for a few minutes before Jasmine said, "My dad gave me something before the ceremony. Want to see?" "Of course." She pulled a small box from her clutch and opened it. Inside was a key, old, tarnished, clearly significant. It's the key to his first apartment in Chicago, the one he lived in during his rookie year. He said it's a reminder that everyone starts somewhere small, somewhere humble, somewhere uncertain, and that the journey from that small apartment to where he is now, it wasn't about the championships or the fame. It was about staying true to himself even when the pressure tried to change him. Marlon felt emotion welling up again. "That's incredible." He said we might need that reminder someday, when the pressure gets heavy, when we forget why we started this journey in the first place. We can look at this key and remember, start small, stay true, and the rest will follow. Your dad is full of surprises. He is. I think this past year changed him too. Watching us face his fears and survive them, it healed something in him. Like he finally forgave himself for his marriages not working out. Like he finally understood that his mistakes don't have to be our destiny. They pulled into the hotel parking lot and Marlon turned off the car, but neither of them moved to get out. "Can I tell you something?" Marlon asked. "Always. When I was a kid, I had a poster of your dad on my wall. I used to stare at it every night before bed, imagining what it would be like to be that great, to be that untouchable, to be a legend. And now I realize he's not untouchable. He's human. He makes mistakes. He gets scared. He carries pain. And somehow that makes what he accomplished even more impressive. He became the greatest despite being human, not because he transcended humanity." Marlon turned to face Jasmine fully. "And I realized that I don't want to be Michael Jordan. I want to be Marlon Samuels, the guy who loves his wife, shows up for his family, plays basketball with joy instead of pressure, and builds a life worth living. That's my version of greatness." Jasmine kissed him softly. "That's my version of greatness too." They finally headed up to their room, exhausted but happy. As they got ready for bed, Marlon noticed Jasmine had placed Michael's old apartment key on the nightstand beside the worn basketball he'd given them, the one from his first NBA game. Two symbols of humble beginnings and impossible dreams. Two reminders that greatness isn't about perfection. It's about showing up, trying anyway, and choosing love even when fear says it's impossible. As they fell asleep in each other's arms, Marlon thought about the journey that had brought them here. From that charity basketball event where they first met, through the secret dating, the discovery, the heartbreak, the confrontation, the family dinner that changed everything. Every step had been necessary. Every challenge had shaped them. And now they were beginning the next chapter. Not as Michael Jordan's daughter and some NBA player, but as Marlon and Jasmine Samuels, partners, equals. Diamonds created by pressure instead of crushed by it. "I love you, Mrs. Samuels," Marlon whispered in the darkness. "I love you too, Mr. Samuels," Jasmine whispered back. And in the silence that followed, they both felt the same thing. Hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, they really could write a different story. Hope that the impossible was possible after all. Hope that love, real love, could survive anything, even the shadow of the greatest basketball player who ever lived. Outside, the stars shone down on Napa Valley, witnesses to a wedding that was more than just a ceremony. It was a declaration, a promise, a choice. And somewhere in Charlotte, Michael Jordan sat in his home office, looking at the empty space where his first NBA game ball used to sit, where the key to his first apartment had been stored. He'd given away his most precious possessions, the symbols of where he'd started and what he'd achieved. And somehow he felt lighter, like he'd finally let go of the fear that had haunted him for decades, like he'd finally understood that his children didn't need his trophies or his warnings or his protection from pain. They needed his belief that they could handle whatever came. They needed his trust that they could be better than he was. They needed his love without the fear attached to it. "Good luck, kids," Michael whispered to the empty room. "Go prove me wrong about everything. I can't wait to watch." And in that moment, the cycle broke. The fear stopped. The new chapter began. Not perfectly, not easily, but together. And that made all the difference. 5 years later, Marlon Samuels stood in his driveway in Charlotte, watching his 4-year-old daughter Maya attempt to shoot a basketball into the lowered hoop he'd installed just for her. She missed. Again. "Daddy, it's too hard!" Maya stomped her foot, her dark curls bouncing with the movement. She had Jasmine's eyes and determination, Marlon's athletic build, and Michael Jordan's legendary competitive fire. A combination that was equal parts adorable and terrifying. "One more try, baby girl," Marlon encouraged. "Remember what Grandpa Mike taught you?" "Follow through," Maya shouted, grabbing the ball again. She bent her knees, focused intensely, and shot. The ball bounced off the rim, rolled around, and dropped through the net. Maya screamed with joy, jumping up and down. "I did it! I did it! Did you see, Daddy?" "I saw, sweetie. I'm so proud of you." From the porch, Michael Jordan watched his granddaughter celebrate, a soft smile on his face. He'd flown in that morning from a business trip in New York, and Maya had been glued to his side ever since. "She's got the bug," Michael said as Marlon joined him on the porch. "That look in her eyes when she made that basket. I know that look." "God help us all," Marlon muttered, but he was smiling. 5 years of marriage had brought changes neither of them could have predicted. Marlon had become a 2-time All-Star, finally breaking through the ceiling he'd once struggled to reach. The pressure of being Michael Jordan's son-in-law had nearly crushed him that second year. Every game analyzed through the lens of his famous connection, every mistake attributed to distraction or nepotism. But Jasmine had been there, reminding him who he was, protecting his fire when the world tried to extinguish it, and Marlon had done the same for her. When her sports marketing firm landed a major contract and critics claimed it was only because of her last name, Marlon had spent hours helping her prepare presentations, reviewing contracts, believing in her when she doubted herself. They'd learned to carry the shadow together, just like Michael had said. "How's the season going?" Michael asked, settling into one of the porch chairs. "Good. Really good, actually. We're third in the conference, and Coach finally trusts me to run the offense my way." Marlon paused. "You know what's weird? I stopped caring what people say about why I'm successful. Used to eat me alive. Every article that mentioned your name before mine, every comment about family connections. Now I just don't care." "That's growth," Michael said simply. "Took me until my 30s to figure that out. You're ahead of schedule." Jasmine emerged from the house carrying a tray of lemonade, her belly swollen with their second child, a boy due in 3 months. She moved more slowly now, one hand supporting her back, but her smile was radiant. "Are you three bonding over basketball again?" she asked, setting down the tray. "Because I distinctly remember someone promising to help me assemble the new crib." "Daddy's busy watching me," Maya called from the driveway. "Watch this, Mommy." She shot again. This time, it was an air ball. "That's okay, baby," Jasmine called back. "Try again." Marlon helped Jasmine into a chair, his hand instinctively moving to her belly. He felt the baby kick and grinned. "He's active today. He's been doing gymnastics all morning. I think he's training for the NBA already." Jasmine looked at her father. "Please tell me you're not going to put this one on a court before he can walk." "I would never," Michael said innocently. "You had Maya dribbling a ball at 18 months. And look how well it's working out." They all laughed, the sound easy and comfortable. This had become their routine over the past 5 years. Michael visiting once a month, always staying for at least a week, building relationships with his grandchildren that went deeper than basketball. He was different now, softer around the edges, more present, more willing to show vulnerability. "Dad," Jasmine said quietly, "I wanted to thank you for something." "What's that?" "For what you said at our wedding, about pressure creating diamonds. I've thought about that a lot over the years, especially when things got hard. And things had gotten hard. The media attention never stopped. When Maya was born, photographers had camped outside the hospital. When Jasmine's firm landed its first major client, articles questioned her qualifications. When Marlon had a rough playoff series, commentators blamed his divided focus. But they'd survived it all. More than survived, they'd thrived. "You proved me wrong," Michael said simply. "I thought the pressure would break you. Instead, you let it make you stronger. Both of you." "We had a good teacher," Marlon said. "You showed us what not to do and what to do. That's a gift, even if you didn't mean it that way." Michael looked at him sharply, then laughed. "You're saying I taught you by being a cautionary tale?" "Partially, but you also taught us by changing, by admitting you were wrong, by trusting us to write our own story." Marlon leaned forward. "That took courage, Michael. More courage than winning championships." The older man's eyes grew misty. "You know, I spent most of my life thinking vulnerability was weakness, that showing fear or doubt or uncertainty made you a target. But watching you two, watching how open you are with each other, how you face challenges together, that's real strength. That's a kind of strength I never had." "You have it now," Jasmine said, taking her father's hand. "You're showing it to Maya every time you visit. She's not going to grow up with a distant, untouchable grandfather. She's going to know you, really know you. That's your gift to her." Michael squeezed his daughter's hand, unable to speak for a moment. Maya came running up to the porch, sweaty and happy. "Grandpa Mike, come play with me, please?" "I'm pretty old, sweetheart. My knees don't work like they used to. Please, just one game of horse." Michael looked at Marlon and Jasmine, who both nodded encouragingly. "All right, little one, but I'm warning you, I'm still pretty good." "I'm gonna beat you," Maya declared confidently. As Michael and Maya headed to the driveway, Jasmine leaned against Marlon, watching them play. "Can you believe this is our life?" she whispered. "5 years ago, I thought loving you meant losing my family. Now look at us. I know, sometimes I wake up and think it's all a dream." They sat in comfortable silence, watching Michael teach Maya proper shooting form, his voice patient and encouraging. The legendary competitiveness was still there, but tempered with grandfatherly love. "Marlon," Jasmine said suddenly, "do you ever regret it? Marrying into this family? Dealing with all the scrutiny and pressure?" Marlon turned to look at her, genuinely surprised. "Not for a single second. Why? Do you?" "No, God, no. Sometimes I wonder if it's fair to you. If you ever wish you'd chosen an easier path." "Jazz, there is no easier path. Everyone has challenges. Everyone has pressure. At least our pressure came with you, the woman I love, the family I gained, the life we built. I wouldn't trade that for anything." Jasmine kissed him softly. "I love you. I love you too." Now, should we tell your dad the news before Maya spills it? Oh God, she's definitely going to spill it. Let's tell him now. They called Michael and Maya back to the porch. What's up? Michael asked, slightly out of breath but grinning. Your daughter just beat me 3 times in a row. I'm officially washed. We have something to tell you, Jasmine said, glancing at Marlon for support. Is everything okay? Michael's face immediately shifted to concern. The baby's fine. Everything's fine. It's just… Jasmine took a deep breath. We're moving, back to Charlotte, permanently. Michael stared at them, processing. What? But Marlon, your team. I requested a trade, Marlon said calmly. Asked to come to the Hornets, and they agreed. You want to play for me? Michael looked stunned. Samuels, the scrutiny will be intense. People will say I'm playing favorites, that you don't deserve the spot, that… Let them say it, Marlon interrupted. 5 years ago, I would have cared, would have been terrified of what people thought. But you know what matters more than public opinion? Being near family. Letting Maya and our son grow up knowing their grandfather. Supporting Jazz's business, which is thriving here. Building a life in a place that feels like home. But your career… My career will be fine. Actually, it'll be better. Because I'll be playing with purpose beyond just basketball. I'll be playing for this. He gestured to Jasmine, to Maya, to the house behind them. For family. For legacy. Not your legacy, but the one we're building. Our legacy. Michael looked at Jasmine. This is what you want? It's what we both want, Dad. My business is here. Your grandkids will be here. And honestly, we're tired of living across the country from you. These visits are wonderful, but we want more. We want Sunday dinners again. We want Maya to grow up really knowing you, not just seeing you once a month. Michael's composure finally cracked. He pulled both of them into a tight hug, tears streaming down his face. You have no idea what this means to me, he whispered. No idea. Actually, we do, Marlon said, because it means the same thing to us. Family, real family, the kind that shows up for each other. Maya squeezed between them. Are we moving to Grandpa's city? We are, baby girl, Jasmine said. Yes! Maya jumped up and down. I can play basketball with Grandpa every day. Michael laughed through his tears. Every day might be a lot, sweetheart, but definitely more than now. They spent the rest of the afternoon making plans. Michael insisted on helping them house Hunt, already texting his realtor. Jasmine called her business partner to discuss expanding their Charlotte office. Marlon fielded calls from his agent about contract details. But beneath all the logistics, there was something deeper happening. A family was coming together. Not perfectly, not without complications, but together. 3 months later, Marlon stood in the Hornets practice facility wearing his new uniform, teal and purple, with Samuels across the back and the number 3. His first official practice as a Charlotte Hornet. Michael watched from his usual spot in the owner's box, trying to remain impartial. But Marlon could see the pride in his eyes the joy barely contained. After practice, Marlon showered and headed to the parking lot, where Jasmine was waiting in the car with both kids. Maya was chattering about her new preschool and baby Marlon Jr., they called him MJ because the universe had a sense of humor, was sleeping peacefully in his car seat. How was it? Jasmine asked as Marlon climbed in. Weird. Good weird, but weird. Your dad tried so hard to act like I was just another player, but I caught him smiling every time I made a good pass. He's been talking about this for weeks. Tried to act casual, but I know him. He's thrilled. They drove to their new house, a beautiful property just 15 minutes from Michael's estate. As they pulled in, they saw Michael's car already in the driveway. He beat us here? Marlon laughed. Of course he did. Probably been here for an hour, assembling furniture or fixing things that don't need fixing. Sure enough, Michael was in the backyard installing a basketball hoop. Dad, you don't have to do that, Jasmine called. We were going to hire someone. Nonsense. Wait, this is a grandfather's job. He finished tightening the last bolt and stepped back to admire his work. There. Now Maya can practice whenever she wants. Maya ran over immediately, basketball in hand. Play with me, Grandpa. Give me 5 minutes, sweetheart. Let me talk to your parents first. Maya pouted but agreed, practicing her dribbling nearby. Michael walked over to Marlon and Jasmine, his expression serious. "I need to say something. Both of you need to hear this." They waited curious. "When you first told me you were dating," Michael began, "I reacted out of fear. I saw my own failures and assumed they'd be yours too. I tried to protect Jazz from pain by pushing you away, Marlon, and I almost destroyed the best thing that ever happened to my daughter. Dad, we've moved past." "No, let me finish." Michael's voice was firm but gentle. "I spent 5 years watching you two build something I couldn't build, a partnership based on equality, vulnerability, and real communication. You faced scrutiny I never faced, being analyzed not just as individuals but as a unit. And you've handled it with grace I never had." He looked at Marlon directly. "You've made me a better person, Samuels. Watching you love my daughter, watching you be vulnerable and strong at the same time, watching you choose family over ego. It's taught me things I should have learned decades ago. So thank you. Thank you for proving me wrong. Thank you for being brave when I was afraid. Thank you for showing me what real strength looks like." Marlon felt his throat tighten. "Michael, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. Because here's what I realize. My legacy isn't championships or records or businesses. My legacy is the next generation doing better than I did. Jazz building a thriving company. You finding balance between career and family that I never found. Maya growing up knowing she's loved for who she is, not what she achieves. Baby MJ learning that masculinity includes vulnerability and gentleness." Michael's voice broke slightly. "That's the legacy that matters, and you two are building it beautifully." Jasmine was crying openly now. She hugged her father tightly and Marlon joined them, creating a circle of 3 generations, past, present, and future. Maya, watching from nearby, ran over and squeezed into the hug. "Group hug!" They all laughed, the tension breaking into joy. That evening, after Michael left and the kids were in bed, Marlon and Jasmine sat on their back porch, watching the sun set over Charlotte. "Do you think Maya will play professionally?" Jasmine asked. "Maybe, or maybe she'll be a scientist or a teacher, or something we can't even imagine yet. The point is, she'll have choices, real choices, because we're not putting our dreams on her shoulders. She's already so competitive, though. Did you see her with Dad today? She was devastated when she missed that shot. She gets that from both sides of her family," Marlon pointed out. "But we'll teach her that failure isn't the end, that missing a shot doesn't define her worth, that she's loved whether she wins or loses." Jasmine leaned her head on his shoulder. "Your parents would be so proud. Everything they sacrificed, everything they taught you, it all led to this." Marlon thought about his parents, now living just 20 minutes away in a house he'd bought for them. His mother had cried when they'd moved, overwhelmed by how far they'd all come from that small apartment in California. "My mom told me something last week," Marlon said. "She said, why we came to America hoping you'd have opportunities, but you gave us something better, a family that chooses love over fear. That's the real American dream." Your mom is wise. She is. And she was right. This is the dream, not the house or the cars or the NBA contract. This, us, the family we're building, the choice we make every day to face the hard things together. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars emerge in the darkening sky. "Marlon," Jasmine said quietly, "do you remember that night in the coffee shop? When you wouldn't tell me what my dad said? Of course. What would you have done if he'd actually forbidden us from being together? If he'd threatened you or tried to destroy your career?" Marlon considered the question carefully. "I would have chosen you anyway. It would have been harder and maybe we would have struggled more. But I still would have chosen you, because love without you wasn't worth protecting. Even if it meant losing basketball? Even then, basketball is what I do. You're who I am. There's a difference." Jasmine kissed him deeply. "That's the most romantic thing you've ever said. Wait until our anniversary. I've been working on my vows." "We're renewing vows?" "Every year, it's my new tradition, because choosing you once wasn't enough. I want to choose you again and again, publicly, Until everyone understands this isn't luck or convenience or family pressure, this is choice. Active, deliberate, joyful choice. Jasmine was crying now, happy tears flowing freely. I love you so much. I love you too. More than basketball, more than approval, more than anything. Inside the house, baby MJ started crying. Jasmine began to stand, but Marlon gently pushed her back down. I got him. You rest. Marlon went inside and picked up his son, cradling him gently. MJ's crying stopped immediately, replaced by curious dark eyes staring up at his father. Hey, little man, Marlon whispered. Can't sleep? I get it. The world's pretty overwhelming sometimes. He carried MJ to the window, looking out at the backyard where Maya's new basketball hoop stood silhouetted against the night sky. You see that hoop, buddy? Your grandpa put that up today. The same grandpa who's the greatest basketball player who ever lived. And you know what? You never have to touch that hoop if you don't want to. You can be anything. A doctor, an artist, a teacher, whatever makes you happy. Your mom and I will love you exactly the same. MJ yawned, his tiny hand gripping Marlon's finger. But if you do decide to play, Marlon continued softly, remember this. It's not about being the best. It's not about living up to names or legacies or expectations. It's about finding joy in the game. It's about the friendships you make and the person you become and the way you treat people when everyone's watching and when no one is. He kissed his son's forehead. Your grandpa learned that lesson late. I learned it a little earlier, and hopefully you'll learn it from the start. That success isn't championships or trophies or fame. Success is building a life worth living with people worth loving. Success is choosing vulnerability over perfection. Success is knowing when to be strong and when to ask for help. MJ's eyes were drooping now, sleep reclaiming him. Success, Marlon whispered, is being brave enough to love, despite impossible odds. And kid, if you learn nothing else from your mom and me, learn that. Learn that the impossible is just the possible waiting for someone brave enough to try. He carried MJ back to the nursery and laid him gently in the crib. Then he returned to the porch where Jasmine was waiting. He okay? Perfect. Just needed some dad time. They sat together under the stars, hands intertwined, watching the world settle into night. And in that moment, everything felt complete. Not perfect. Perfection was an illusion, a trap, a burden they learned to reject, but complete, whole, right. This was the life they'd chosen, the life they'd fought for, the life they'd built brick by brick, choice by choice, despite every reason to give up. This was their legacy, not championships or fame or business success, but love, real, complicated, messy, beautiful love. The kind of love that survives pressure and creates diamonds. The kind of love that writes new stories instead of repeating old ones. The kind of love that proves again and again that the impossible is possible after all. And somewhere in the darkness, watching over them all, Michael Jordan smiled. His daughter was happy. His son-in-law was family. His grandchildren were loved and safe and free to be whoever they wanted to be. This was victory. Not 6 championships, not 5 MVPs. This, family choosing each other. Generation after generation learning to do better. Love winning over fear. This was the greatest victory of all. And as the stars shone down on Charlotte, on that back porch where a young family sat together, the universe whispered what it had known all along. Love always wins. Not easily, not quickly, not without scars, but eventually, inevitably, beautifully. Love wins. And that made all the difference. Thanks for watching this incredible story of love, courage, and family. We want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell us where you're listening from. Are you in New York, Tokyo, London, or somewhere else in the world? If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you're helping us spread kindness and inspiring stories to people everywhere who need hope and encouragement. And don't stop here. Click on the video appearing on your screen right now for another amazing story that will move you. See you in the next one.